across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And very much on your side. Season's greetings, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. This is Jonny Gould in the chair. I'm here for Petri Hoskin. Petri sort of phoned up earlier on and said, I've got to do my Christmas shopping. I'm sorry, I'm ill. No, she's not very well, so we wish Petri all the very best, and hopefully she'll be back again in the Talk TV, Talk Radio and Talk Chair this time tomorrow. But in the meantime, it's me and you, kid. It's Jonny in the chair between now and 1 o'clock. We've got a lot of things to straighten out, to talk about, and some of the subjects that are hobby horses of Petri, so what you're used to is what you're going to get. And I'm going to start with the Employment Rights Bill. It's going to get the royal assent tomorrow. Now, it's a bill which is passing its final parliamentary hurdle after the Shadow Business and Trade Minister, Lord Sharp, withdrew an amendment and removed the last block. So this is like a flagship workers' rights bill. And as we said with Kev just before, this is an Angela Rayner-inspired, worker-orientated bill. But is it good for employers? If you're a small business person, does it stop you from making that extra hire, particularly of someone younger and on the minimum wage? Because it will ban 0-hour contracts and introduce day one rights, including paternity leave. So if you make a mistake by employing the wrong person, you've got zero time to say, oh, I made a mistake here. You've got to go. There's no 3-month or 6-month sort of moment where you can reconsider and they can shake hands and move on. It means that the mobility of the employment market is not as it was this time yesterday. The bill will apply to England, Scotland and Wales, but not Northern Ireland for some reason. So Keir Starmer says it's a victory. In just a moment, we'll talk to Gemma O'Connor, who's a human resources expert. Your chance to win 26,000 quid. Details coming up at about 20 minutes past. The doctor's strike. Blimey. A new strike action began this morning as resident doctors, that's the new name for junior doctors, okay? So you're not, and by the way, my mate Colin told me that junior doctors can be like 50. It doesn't mean they're kids. Anyway, resident doctors are set to fold arms until Sunday, and it's the 14th walkout for, 2.5 years. The BMA, the British Medical Association, is asking the government for a long-term plan to increase pay and make up for years of below inflation. Okay, so there's a couple of questions here. Should doctors even take strikes? Should they not be like the police and the army? You know, people will die. People die when doctors aren't there. And also they bring in freelance people, senior people, surgeons, who are paid very, very large sums of money to work overnight to incentivise them to come in and work. So the NHS gets a massive employment bill, which they don't need. That's the first thing. And the second thing that I want to ask you on this one is, do they have a point? Okay, this is the other argument, because we live in an international jobs market, okay? So if you are a young and ambitious doctor, and you believe in the ethics of working in the public sector, that you believe in working for the NHS, but you're looking at your mates in Canada or Australia or the United States in the private economy, like I don't know, in Florida, for example, there's a real market for British doctors, or Dubai, there's another place where a lot of people are going. Have we not got to pay the going rate in an international jobs market? 03444991000. It's a bit galling, isn't it, though, them going on strike all the time? It's a bit galling, isn't it? So the doctor's strike we'll talk about. And then let's talk about Donald Trump and Venezuela. Now, if I was to say those two words together, you'd think, wouldn't you, that they are very odd bedfellows in the same continent, right? Trump is who he is. Venezuela is an oil-rich dictatorship. They were eventually going to come to blows. So he has ordered a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, a move that the Latin American country was said was a warmongering threat. And we've seen him take direct action, blowing up Venezuelan boats coming into more in the United States. Because as always, with a terror state funded by oil, there's going to be terrorism off the back of an oil economy. It just happens. Last week, the US had seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela, a significant move given Venezuela's reliance on oil. I mean, you know, they are a very, very rich nation. Their people are poor. Their economy is crashing, and yet they've got all the money and all the resources in the world. What is it about oil economies where they have a dictatorship? What is it? 0344 499 1000. The tanker was sanctioned, according to the Americans, for carrying black market sanctioned oil to Iran, and that it was using it to fund drug trafficking and other crimes. The US has also recently conducted deadly strikes on alleged Venezuelan drug smuggling boats. If you look on social media, there are some really, really quite striking attacks from drones in the sky blowing up these very, very posh boats, and they've significantly built up its naval presence by. We're going to talk in about 35 minutes to a real expert on this, the Professor of International Politics and founder and editor of EA Worldview, Scott Lucas. So stay tuned for that. The papers as well. We get the first draft of your newspapers around 11 o'clock, and we're going to have a transport and travel journalist in for you. You've probably seen him here if you're a regular here on Talk. Ed Wiseman will be with us at 11 o'clock. And then the big question. Okay, you heard in the news at the top of the hour that the cops are going to go at these hate marches and begin to police the language, the potty-mouthed, filthy language that is sometimes, often delivered on these so-called protests, which are becoming and have been for a couple of years now, hate marches. I'm talking about the pro-Palestine, anti-Israel marches. And so when the cops hear the term globalize the intifada, they've now decided that that is racial incitement. They have upped the bar on the seriousness of that word, because after the Bondi mass murder of Jewish people celebrating Hanukkah, they have decided that that was an act of globalizing the intifada. Duh, it's a bit late, isn't it? But I suppose you've got to say fair's fair. The other thing is, though, that there are so many different ways that the pro-Palestine protesters say the same anti-Zionist, anti-Jewish stuff. So will they go in and police the language for it is racial incitement? I'd love to know if you agree with me. Better perhaps if you disagree with me, because I really need to take this on. I'm glad to be here tonight. I was only called a little bit earlier when Petri called in ill, but it's been a very emotional week, I think, not just for Australian people in general and for people like us in this country who have Australian family, but also the international Jewish community, to see yet another attack. And I think I hope that the switchboard will be nice and hot for our discussion at midnight here at Talk. 0344 499 1000. And we'll talk to Gemma O'Connor in just a moment. And Gemma is the head of HR for the advisory at Bright HR, and she'll talk to us in just a moment. She'll be available for us. She's ready, I'm delighted to say. Gemma, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening to you. So now we're seeing the Employment Rights Bill set to get the royal assent tomorrow. My concern is, and I know lots of small business people here, it will be a great disincentive to take not just people on in a mobile jobs market where unemployment is growing, but also young people who need to be paid the minimum wage, because from the moment they sign the contract, from day one when they're working, I don't know, in the cafe or the office or the shop, they will have rights that small business people cannot afford.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we speak to a lot of business owners, particularly small businesses, on a daily basis on the advice line. And I suppose for those small businesses in particular, it really is a joined up issue. You know, they'll have the earlier unfair dismissal rights with increased legal exposure, changes in relation to statutory sick pay, entitlements to statutory parental leave. And that's increased cause before the business has had the chance to essentially absorb the new hire and induct them into the business. I think it's not the time to panic at the moment. At least we have some clarity now, and we have the roadmap that hopefully we can follow along with. What business owners really need to do now is get informed about the changes and start preparing and thinking about the next year, 18 months ahead.
Paternity leave for a guy who is waiting in a cafe, right? Or a car mechanic who wants to learn his apprenticeship in like a garage, like a rough and ready garage. It includes them too.
All it includes everybody.
Right.
And these changes are going to impact all business owners. There is no exception.
Right.
So everybody needs to prepare. But as I said, the key thing is try not to panic, get informed, seek advice, and try and get ahead of the game.
Gemma, is there a way around this? So, for example, if you run a cafe and with the best will in the world, you know, you've got, I don't know, 15 tables, and you might, you know, you'll need a chef or maybe two in the kitchen. You'll need the manager there to keep a hand on the till, just in case, and maybe one or two waiting staff. Is there a way around this to outsource the business so that you hire an interim company who then looks after all of the contracts? So you phone them up in the morning and say, yeah, I want one cook, I want one waiter, and you deal with it, and I pay you a monthly fee for that service. Is that a way around it?
I don't think that would be the preferential outcome for them, because I think that the people supplying those services will inevitably have to increase their costs as well, and be fed back to the business owner that's engaging that.
Yeah, I know, except that it would take away all the grief of changing, kind of suddenly you're having a row with someone who you took on yesterday, and they're, you know, they drop all the plates on the floor and they start insulting the customers, and then they've got workers' rights. You know, at least that bit would be removed.
Yeah, like there would still be certain obligations, even if, you know, you have agency workers or temporary staff. There is certain obligations on employers in that regard. And one of the upcoming changes is all around kind of sexual harassment and in the workplace, and employers being obliged to take reasonable steps to prevent sexual harassment and, you know, from third parties. So there's other risks involved with that as well. It's a bit of a minefield, I think, for business owners. But it's taking it one step at a time, looking at the government roadmap, looking at what's coming in, looking at what you have in place at the moment, essentially doing a workplace assessment. So, you know, what have you got in your policies currently, you know, when it comes to probation periods, for example. I think one positive is that we don't have the day one right to unfair dismissal. I think that's a win for business owners, that it's 6 months, albeit it's a significant change from 2 years. But there's lots that business owners need to do, and ideally get that support where they can, and that you're going to have to train your managers on how to have these discussions and have that awareness piece as well. There's an awful lot to be thinking about now this time of year, particularly.
I'm using the cafe and the smallest kind of business, which is the most intense in terms of service. You're going to have an office. So, like, you know, in a cafe, you've got the front office, and then you've got the kitchen at the back, and maybe you've got a couple of toilets. You know, where do you have these meetings with people? I mean, after it closes at the table at the back.
It's
like,
hard.
It's just not fit small business. It doesn't fit a garage.
Yeah.
You know, this is kind of, there should be some businesses, maybe perhaps if you've got a business of, I don't know, 6 or less employees, where this should be exempt, where the market for jobs should be mobile as possible. It didn't work out. You're not a very good waiter, but I reckon you might be very good working at the car garage across the road. You know, why can't we have a mobility of employment in the most basic of blue-collar jobs? Can't we?
Unfortunately, with the changes coming in at the moment, it is for all businesses. And I do agree with you, when you have got a small business owner that has maybe the 6 employees, they're trying to do everything. They manage the staff on a day-to-day basis, balance the books, order stock, maybe working in the business themselves. And we would have a lot of business owners calling to us in the evening when they're at home, and they're starting essentially the second aspect of their job, because they don't have that time during the day or the space in the workplace. So there's an awful lot, and whilst it is going to impact, the changes are going to impact everyone, I do believe that small business owners may feel the pressure that little bit more.
Of course they will. And of course, instead of your full English breakfast being £8.99, it'll be £11.99 from next week.
Potentially.
Basically, that's what's going to happen.
Like, there's obviously a lot of rising costs involved, in terms of the entitlements that employees will have. But then, the training aspect from a management perspective, I think recruitment is going to be key. You're really going to want to nail down your recruitment processes and make sure that you're hiring the right employees. And
the due diligence.
It's a short window, 6 months, it's gone in the blink of an eye. So,
can we talk about sexual harassment? You mentioned that earlier. Obviously, there are new regulations surrounding that. Now, a lot of people meet their other half, across the office.
Yeah.
And sometimes those relationships break down, and sometimes they get a bit leery and animosity breaks out, and suddenly you've got harassment cases against a man where perhaps the man might have been victimized. Maybe it was just a man versus woman thing. It didn't work out. We move on. Isn't the sexual harassment laws that are coming in also a danger for people who are just sort of living their lives at work and meet their potential partner? Like, you're going to be disincentivized from having a nice chat with each other, about things, going for a drink after work. It's sad, isn't it? I mean, people do meet. It's human life, isn't it?
Absolutely, you do. And it happens quite often, as you said, and that's when it gets really tricky. And potentially, as you said, if the relationship breaks down or it turns sour, you potentially have colleagues gossiping, rumor mills are flying, people are getting upset in that regard. It puts the employer in a really awkward position. And I suppose, going back to what you're saying, those small business owners that maybe have 5-6 employees working in a small, close environment. So from the employer's perspective, I'm a firm believer when it comes to policies, procedures, that first step is making sure you have them in place, but it's not enough to just have a policy in place and say that's a box ticked. You need to ensure the employees are aware of those policies and they understand them. And one thing that's always struck me when it comes to harassment is it's the impact it has on the person and not the intent, and that's something that really needs to be reinforced within the workplace. For all involved. And we have Christmas party season around now.
Oh no. They'll be banning mistletoe. So Gemma, I'm obviously, on the flip side, this is very good news for you and your business, isn't it?
Look, to be honest, we're supporting clients quite a long time. I'm working within the group 15 years now, and we're consistently busy. We speak to clients.
I bet you are.
Day in, day out. And there's a lot of changes coming from a legislative perspective, but I suppose we've been trying to prep clients and business owners for those along the way and continue to support them. But alongside all of the changes, you still have the day-to-day issues that have been cropping up all the time. Your conduct, your managing your absence, irrespective of the changes or the payments that need to be made. You still have to deal with the operational impact of people ringing in sick on the business, and if it's impact in service delivery, for example. So you have your normal day-to-day issues plus the added pressure of all of these changes. And more and more employees are aware of their rights and entitlements these days, so employers have to be careful.
It's a bit of a load for employers to take 100%. On this, of course, Gemma. The other thing about this is the very, very clear drafting of these laws mean that HR is now the law, and that lawyers, when it comes to employment law, are made redundant in a very, very large way, because everything goes to HR rather than anything beyond legal. That's true, isn't it? That employment law in itself, big lawyers, I'm going to the lawyer to sue you for whatever it is. It doesn't. It just goes straight to the HR department, doesn't it?
Yeah, like, when it comes to HR, it's human resources. You're dealing with people that when people have a complaint, yes, there's a legislation in place, and it's there for a reason, and policies are generally drafted in line with that legislation. But there's also a human aspect as well. So, we've spoken about harassment. If you're having a policy in relation to harassment in the workplace, that should always have an informal and a formal approach to it. Wherever possible, informal is generally best, because it's more likely that working relations will be maintained going forward if those involved can come to an amicable resolution. So I think from a HR perspective, keeping your policies and legal talk out of it, and in layman's term, easy for everyone to understand, and remembering that it's people you're dealing with at the end of the day is really important. And I think that's where HR plays a key role.
Unemployment's gone up over the last 3 months. Do you expect it to continue in an upward direction over the next 12 months, and Keir Starmer calling it a victory for working people will actually be proved wrong?
I think that the new changes coming in and the increased costs, I think employers may be quite apprehensive about their hiring plans and really need to sit down and look at what those costs will involve. So I do think it's going to be a watch this space over the next couple of months, because there's a lot to weigh up, and it's the anticipation, the unknown almost. So I think as we get more into 2026, we should have a better indication of how things will look at that point.
I'll tell you what the instant impact will be for those owner managers who are in the business themselves, that if they don't work hard enough, if 60 hours isn't enough for them, they might end up working 75, because they'd rather take on a job and a half of someone else that they used to hire, instead of taking the risk and the extra payments involved in that, won't it? I mean, we are going to have a bit of stress related to those owner managers that work in the business.
Potentially, I do think so, but I think that's why, going back to the point of being informed now. So whilst we will have royal assent tomorrow, these changes aren't all coming in at once, so we have time.
What's the time span of the things that we need to know, Gemma?
Yes, so I suppose from within the private sector, so aside from one change that will predominantly impact public, April is going to be, I suppose, where the increased costs come in, because that's where we have our changes to statutory sick pay. So all workers are going to be entitled to that from day one of their absence, essentially. There's no qualifying service for a statutory paternity leave, which obviously is another cost involved. Then when it comes to October, that's when we're going to have the extension of the time limits to take an employment tribunal claim. So we're looking at that being extended from 3 months to 6 months. Then coming into the sexual harassment will also take place in October. Then January next year, I think, is going to be the real big one. That's where we have the qualifying service from an unfair dismissal perspective changing to the 6 months. And then the further changes are coming in then, as you mentioned, zero hours, low hours contracts, and the introduction of unpaid bereavement leave, and the remainder of the reforms.
Gemma, there's a lot to take on, and obviously people will think very carefully and maybe even twice about employing people, and I wonder if that is an unintended consequence of Prime Minister Keir Starmer's idea about this workers' rights bill. Gemma O'Connor from Bright HR, thank you very much indeed for joining us. She's the head of HR advisory there. 03444991000. Are you an employer who has decided that that's it? I cannot afford to take people on because of the risk, because of the increased costs. You know, I have to compete with the business down the road. I want to keep my costs as low as I can, otherwise it threatens my business. Are you tempted as an owner manager, hard at work as much as you are, to work even harder at the expense of someone? What does it mean to you? I'd love to know. 0344 499 1000. You can tweet me at talkTV and at Jonny Gould, 87222 on the old text as well, and on the WhatsApp. Stay tuned, more in a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is indeed, and a warm welcome to you this evening. I'm Jonny Gould. I'm here till 1 o'clock, standing in tonight for Petrie. She'll be back again tomorrow. And I asked before the break, if you're a small business owner, or you were in the past, what would this make you decide to do when it came to taking on new people? Are we going to see a sharp increase in unemployment? Lord knows it's going up already. We seem to be entering a sort of self-imposed recession because the government are taxing us to the pips and working against those entrepreneurs who are the biggest employers in the country. So Lenny from Ashford has said, as promised, I'm trying to participate. As always, welcome to do that, Lenny. My experience is in dealing with small businesses for 40 years, created a car industrial estate for small businesses. To explain how the unions devastated the UK industry is because nobody had a job at that time. I think there has to be a happy balance between a mobile job market and employment rights. We can't just have people being thrown out and bullied. For example, I worked for a company in the United Arab Emirates where basically, because I'm not a local, they didn't really care about me. And one morning I turned up for my job, I filed my report, and not only did they not want it, but they switched off the website on which it was operating and they told everyone to leave. I threw my toys out the pram and in the end negotiated a sort of payment for my problems. So we can't have that in this country. But then again, we can't have employers being disincentivized from taking people on. Can we? 0344 499 1000. I'm very, very concerned about this employment rights bill. And I wonder if you are too. Okay, who wants to win some money? You do, don't you? Right. Here at Talk, we're welcoming in the new year by giving away a massive, mahoosive £26,000. So what better way to kick off 2026 than with a chance to win some serious cash? Yes, 26 grand. It's our biggest New Year cash giveaway, and it could be yours. It's 26k for 2026. And here's how to enter. For your chance to win, all you got to do is text TALK to 83338. That's TALK to 83338. Texts cost £2.50 plus your standard network charge, or you can call 0343 423 9761s. And the lines close at midnight on the 9th of January 2026. So just that again, put your phone on 83338 and text the word TALK at the beginning of the text. That costs £2.50, your standard network rate, or you can call this number. It's quite a tricky number, so I'll say it again. 0343 423 9761. 0343 423 9761. You've got ages to enter it. The lines close on the 9th of January next year, and that's when you'll find your phone if it rings. Okay, on the 9th of January, right, your phone will ring if you're the winner, okay? And if it rings, you're going to win the money. You've got to be 18 years old or more. It's a network promotion. The full T's and C's are at the TalkSport website, talksport.com/win. So for your chance to win, text TALK, T-A-L-K obviously, to 83338 now. And the very, very best of British to you. And just before we go to a break, here it is. The Employment Rights Bill means an employee cannot claim for unfair dismissal during the first 6 months, not as originally proposed from day one. Okay, so, you know, and you sent me the text, but you've not sent me your name. So that is clarification. That's what Gemma said in the interview as well. So at least we've got a little bit of clarity. 0344 499 1000. I know what we're going to do. We're going to pay the wages here, and we'll be back in just a sec.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A warm welcome to your evening. I'm Jonny Gould. I'm in the chair for Petrie tonight. She's back again as normal tomorrow. She's just a bit off colour tonight. She thought she'd have a good evening's sleep, a little bit of a catch-up, and now she'll be back. So I'm in tonight. Doctors' strike. It started again this morning. Resident doctors, that's the new name for junior doctors, are set to walk out until Sunday. It's the 14th walkout since March 2023. The British Medical Association is quite a radical union these days, isn't it? It's asking the government for a long-term plan to increase pay and make up for years of below inflation rises. But of course, they had a big pay rise before, didn't they? Prime Minister Keir Starmer called the industrial actions dangerous and irresponsible, begging them not to abandon patients as the NHS is facing a surge in flu and other winter illnesses. And let's face it, folks, every time there is a strike that doctors take, people die, okay? It's not like a bus strike or even a train strike. That is an inconvenience, it's an annoyance, you're late for work, sometimes you have to work from home. With doctors, people die. If the police struck, there'd be riots, people would die. The army, if they struck, there'd be an invasion, people would die. So why are doctors allowed to strike? A shift in public support has been registered in recent weeks. During last month's strike, a poll by UCOV said that sympathy around doctors' walkouts fell noticeably after they accepted, wait for this, a 22% pay rise last September. So if they had such a massive pay rise last September, why are they out again? Should we talk to a health expert he's a former chair of the Royal Pharmaceutical Society. Let's say good evening to Toran Govind. Hi, Toran.
Good evening. Well, yes, we've been talking about the doctors' strikes for a little while now, like you said, but I think it's important for us to look back even into the history of the NHS. So in the early years, doctors were hostile to the idea initially, and the BMA opposed aspects of the NHS but didn't strike. But I think things have really changed in recent years as to how the sort of what they're asking for, and as you've said that, how even last week the rhetoric from the government has changed. Both sides seem to be quite entrenched, and that is despite the offer that came last week from the government, and that offer included emergency legislation to prioritise UK graduates for training, expanding training places, offer of funding fees, Royal College fees for doctors. So I think the fact that we've not had any movement so far indicates it is really now down to pay.
Do you think that this latest dispute will be solved by conditions and opportunities for doctors rather than pay? Because I think it's galling, isn't it, for the rest of the public sector to see that the docs got 22%, which is, I don't know, 4 or 5 times the inflation rate. You know, the train drivers will come out now, won't they? This will be solved in some other way, don't you think?
I think this dispute is going to run on,
really? Because
as we've said there, I think one of the difficulties that the public has had, and we've seen that in the YouGov poll, is them striking. There is acceptance about the conditions that junior doctors have to put up with. I'd say they can find out that they have to move around the country, for example. They're working long hours. There is a lot of expectation on them, but in terms of right now, is it appropriate to be striking right now? And I feel that that is the aspect which has lost some public support, as you mentioned there in the YouGov poll.
Yes, and they got a new name, didn't they? Junior doctors became resident doctors because junior doctors doesn't mean they're 27. Junior doctors is a rank which you can hold even into your 50s. So they became resident doctors. Can you explain that a little bit for us all?
Yes, well, I think you've outlined it perfectly there. But what I would say is, junior doctors are likely to be the doctors that you meet all up and around the hospital.
Yeah.
I think as well, when we talk about the doctor strike and we talk about hospitals, we also can forget about the other services and other people who are involved in making sure that hospitals run. So you've got your pharmacists, you've got your porters, you've got your nurses, and when people know that there may be issues in a hospital, that does prompt them to seek support elsewhere. So we do see community pharmacies get busier as well. And then there is also the concern that people may go to the wrong setting for care because they have concerns about going to hospitals during this period.
Absolutely. I've got an appointment on Christmas Eve, but like at 3:15 in the afternoon, but I can't make it, so I've pressed rebook on my phone. That's a nice little system. Now, let's look at the other side of this argument. We can't all be biased in one favour, which is that there is an international jobs market for doctors, particularly in such a mobile and in-demand industry. So docs can go off to Florida, to the private sector. They can go to Dubai, and they can look even at the NHS's and the equivalents in Australia and Canada, and don't even have to change language and go off and live another life. So there is an argument for saying, oh God, maybe they're right. Maybe we're not paying them enough, and maybe we've got to bite the bullet and give them another 10% or whatever the number might be.
I think those working conditions, like you said, and a lot of the talk at the moment is about that, the stress levels, the actual physical burnout and mental health of doctors, which I do think we need to recognise as well, that during the pandemic we were clapping for the NHS. And claps don't pay the bills, so I do think that needs to be recognised as well. But doctors working in Australia, much better, pay is so much better, and it's that shorter, more predictable hours is also a consideration. When you're working hard here and you don't see much sunlight because you're working night shifts, and we don't have a lot of sunlight anyway, do we?
No, we don't, especially in the winter.
Snow at the moment, though. I can see you've got a lot of snow at the moment behind you.
Yeah, it might not be real. It might be AI. I don't want to let you down there. It might not be a real picture. Okay, just to put that into some clarification. Wouldn't want to present lies, fake news. But the other thing that I was thinking here is that the doctors who go on strike will cost not only lives of people are going to die here, but also they're going to get in surgeons, people who are very, very qualified, but giving them sort of a junior doctor's role overnight to cover for all the strikers, and they'll have to pay them literally thousands of pounds to do one shift overnight, because you can't get the staff. It's going to cost millions, this strike, in terms of cash, but also lives.
I think just in terms of that element as well, you may know as well as I do that sometimes when you have a more senior person in to do a role, because they've not done that role for quite a while, sometimes they may need a bit of time and support. So, I heard your previous guest was, I think, a lawyer.
Yes, no, human resources.
So senior lawyers asking for PDFs to be converted from Word to PDF. That's what happens, doesn't it? Whereas the junior lawyers are a whiz at that. So I think it's about recognising that. Also, when people are having to do different roles than they are used to, things may not operate exactly how they normally do. Are
you getting personal?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, because I'm in for Petri for one night only. That's only joking, Torrin. So look, this is a bit of anecdotal here. I know a surgeon who felt guilty about going into work and doing these very long overnight shifts and literally being paid about $3,000 for doing a 12-hour shift, right? And he did 4 of them. So he was better paid than some Everton players for the week. and he did overnights for like 4 nights, and he worked hard, and obviously had to wait for people to come in. You never know kind of what's going to come in overnight. And one of his juniors said, oh, this is obviously older than the other characters, said, oh, you can go and lie down for a bit if you want. We'll take the strain. And he said, well, no, I'm here to work. That's not a good cult. He said, no, I want to work. I also feel a bit guilty about earning, 12 grand this week.
I bet he really could convert PDFs to words, though, couldn't he? Unlike me.
Yeah, maybe so. I'll tell you what, I might pop in and say, yes, someone mistook me for a doctor today, Torin, so maybe I can just pop in. I wouldn't charge 12 grand. I wouldn't.
I probably save that for save that one. You don't want a lawyer having to represent you
no.
when that all goes
No, that's fine. Well, at least I know someone in the human resource business who can help me out. Torin Govind, thank you very much for enlightening us here. This strike's going on, and it will continue until Sunday. It's the 14th walkout since March 2023. I've tried to present both sides of the argument, which is the realpolitik of this which is that in Australia you get better paid, you get better sunshine, it's the summer there and it's the winter here. Dubai is calling for British doctors to go out to their burgeoning economy, and there's very low tax if there's any. Florida's a nice place this time of year. It's a bit windy sometimes. So, maybe there is a case that the doctors need to be listened to because they are, perhaps as much as any other employment sector, a truly international jobs market. The other thing is, it really is, it's galling, it's annoying. They had 22%. Why didn't they solve it at the time? Why are they going after the government again? And it's us, okay? People are gonna die. That's the thing about a doctor strike. Should they be allowed to strike at all? The army can't, the cops can't. Why are the doctors? 0344 499 1000. We'll have a text from Kim in just a moment.
Across the UK on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey there, it's Johnny here in the chair between now and 1 o'clock. I kept on telling you that Petra's in tomorrow, but then I don't know my Thursdays from my elbows, because tomorrow, of course, it's the beginning of your extended weekend of entertainment where Andre and Ash take to the 10 p.m. slot. All right, man. All right, Bubba. He'll be in. He's my brother. Yes, that's right. I know. And he'll be in at 10 o'clock with Andre for a couple of nights as well. So have a good long weekend, Petri, and we'll see you again here on Monday. Now, Trump and Venezuela. This is a fascinating story. It's not surprising that there is a great tension between a communist, oil-rich dictatorship and this particular president of the United States. So he's ordered a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela. There aren't many countries that have the power to do that, but that Trump can. A move that the Latin American country said was warmongering threats. I wouldn't fancy a war against the United States by Maduro and his Venezuelan crew. He said that Maduro's government had been designated a foreign terrorist organization and have also engaged in drug smuggling and human trafficking, because those two evils are always part of an oil, not always, but often an oil-rich dictatorship. So should we talk to a man who can put some more meat on that bone? Let's talk to Scott Lucas, who's a professor of international politics and founder and editor of EA Worldview. Scott, good evening to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Johnny. Great to be here.
It's great to have you on. We need experts of your level to try and unpack this. It's hardly surprising, is it, that when President Trump took over from President Biden, that Venezuela would be a main target of his in this particular continent?
Well, there's a long-standing tension between the United States and Venezuela going back to, the start of this century. Venezuela is, just a slight correction, not a communist leadership. It's actually more of a socialist leadership.
Right.
But
is there a difference these days? I mean, a lot of socialism is extremely left-wing.
Well, no, I think you need to be precise here, because there's a whole range of what you might call, I mean, we have socialist governments, for example, in places like Scandinavia, and I don't think we want to be saying that Sweden and Finland necessarily are communist.
No, but I mean, they might be socialist, but Maduro is not a socialist in this Swedish sense of the word, is he?
Well, let's get to the core issues here. I think the issue here is that the Maduro government, which follows that of Hugo Chavez, with whom the United States tried to overthrow more than 20 years ago, is a very repressive regime.
Yes.
It has restricted political rights. It has cracked down on dissent. It has limited elections. The Venezuelan economy is in serious trouble. More than 10% of the country, 3 million people, have fled. On the other hand, what is being carried out here by the Trump administration is really an attempt at regime change.
Right.
And it's an attempt at regime change, which is using certain pretexts that need to be fact-checked. For example, Venezuela is not the center of narco-terrorism. If you were to talk about fentanyl, the opioid, most production of fentanyl takes place in Mexico, which is a very different country. If you were to talk about the production of cocaine, that is in Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia. If you were to talk about the transport of cocaine to the United States or other drugs, that comes from other countries. Most of the transit of these Venezuelan boats that are claimed to be drug smuggling boats, they're actually heading towards Europe, not the United States. So the narco-terrorism is more of a pretext here. And similarly, what the Trump people are saying now is, oh, well, Venezuela stole our oil. They stole our oil from us, therefore we have to take their tankers. Now, that's not true. The oil that is in Venezuela is Venezuela's oil.
Right.
We may not like their government. We may not like what they do politically.
That's like a barefaced lie. Even I know that it's Venezuelans' oil. It's not American oil if it's in Venezuela.
But yet that lie has been repeated today by Stephen Miller, who's a very important advisor to Donald Trump, and by Trump himself. what they actually are saying here is that Venezuela nationalized many years ago certain American oil companies.
Right.
And there are still legal proceedings going on about compensation for those companies. But again, there is a legal right, long established, that you can nationalize oil companies if you do pay compensation. So let's cut to the chase here. What you have here is, and it was repeated a few days ago by the Trump administration in what they call their national security strategy, they said, we're going to have the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. And the Monroe Doctrine from 1823 says, this is our hemisphere. All of the Western Hemisphere is American.
Wow.
Britain, don't mess with us. European countries, don't mess with us.
Right.
And Latin American countries accept the fact that we are in control. Now, where the rubber is going to hit the road, and we can talk about this if you wish, is, okay, it's one thing to say you want to overthrow the Venezuelan government. How exactly are you going to do that?
How are they going to exactly do that, Scott?
Well, what they have done is to try to stir up the Venezuelan people to rise up against their government.
Right.
And what you do is, the old words of Teddy Roosevelt, you wave a big stick. And the big stick is that you've got at least 10 warships, including one of America's largest aircraft carriers, the Gerald Ford, just off the coast. You have 15,000 troops who might be mobilized. You have F-35 jets that could fly over them. But does that actually mean that you're going to attack Venezuelan targets on land by bombing them?
Right.
And does it mean you put U.S. soldiers in? Because right now, the Venezuelan people are not rising up to overthrow Maduro, whatever we may think of him.
Fascinating, Scott. Watch this space. It'll be great to have you on the show again. And it's time for the news. Thank you, Scott.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, hello there. Welcome along. It's Jonny Gould here in the chair for another couple of hours. It's been a lovely first hour. Thank you very much for tuning in. I know you have a choice of airlines this time of the day. Talking of airlines, we're going to have a travel journalist with us in just a moment to review the papers. Ed Wiseman is in the green room scoffing the sandwiches. We'll get him out of there and we'll have a nice chat with him over the next hour to see the stories that are exciting him. Ed's there. Listen, we've got the papers as well. We're going to go through the front pages of that as well. 03444991000 if you've got a comment to make. 87222 on the texts. Tweet X at Jonny Gould and at talkTV. And Kim has posted this one, and this is about employment. We talked about that in some detail because it's going to get the Royal Assent tomorrow, the new Workers' Rights Bill. My job, says Kim, is to find employment for people of all ages with learning disabilities. There is a wide spectrum of abilities and many of my clients are really sociably awkward, but once employed, they make excellent and very loyal employees, and they really begin to shine. I've already noticed how employers are more reluctant now as they used to be able to give my clients a chance, a go. Maybe I've just been naive all these years. I'm really sorry to hear that, because people who are in a dysfunctional life want to work. And when you want to work, you realise their opportunities and their chances in life, and they become meaningful people. You know, it's like bad kids. They become great human beings. You can't believe the kid who was a grumpy, snotty little kid is, you know, just a lovely example and a real pride to their parents. It always, you see that so often, don't you? I can't believe Harvey grew up to be a doctor. He was such a horrible kid. Real name. I'll move on. 03444991000. Thank you for that, Kim. We need conversations like this because I think the Workers' Rights Bill will produce a whole load of injustices across the marketplace. It'll keep people unemployed. It'll keep businesses small. It will cause inflation in the market, and there will be some unpleasant sexual harassment cases where relationships between you and your other half who you met at work broke down. It's all wrong-headed. But now the sanity of the papers.
That's what I'm here for.
That's right. And here he is. It's Ed Wiseman, transport and travel journalist. Ed, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Very nice to have you here on the show. Just give us a bit of a CV. Who are you? Who are you?
I am a transport and travel journalist. That is, I have a very short CV, admittedly. I write about vehicles because I like vehicles.
Right.
And in order to put a journalistic veneer on that, I have to write about travel policy and increasingly environmental policy as well. If in an ideal world, I'd be writing about trains, fast cars.
But you have to write about trains.
I have to, quite obliquely. But generally speaking, I have to do it in the context of politics.
Absolutely. So I was in an Elon Musk mobile, and it had the iPad, you know, and it was a really nice car, really nice.
The new one,
just a
Cybertruck.
nice. I mean, I'm not a massive expert like you, but it was really nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
And it had like a door handle, which is like a sardine can.
Yes.
That
quite
one.
fun.
Really nice.
Yeah.
And I've got a car which is a bit more rudimentary.
Rustic.
Than that.
Charming.
Yes, charming. But he told me it was comparatively new, and he said, well, you can buy these between 8,000 and 10,000 quid. Is that right?
Yeah. The Teslas are coming down. Yeah, the Model Y.
Is it because they're electric?
They made a lot of them. And then Elon Musk fell out of favour.
What, because he put a Trump hat on?
He put a Trump hat on. And also the car market moves in a very peculiar way because oversupply will lead to a reduction in prices new, and then more people will buy them second hand, and so they keep going up and down. And then suddenly there'll be a curveball, like Enterprise Rent-A-Car will sell all of their Teslas and suddenly the price will plummet. It's a fascinating and complex market. As I say, I'd much rather be writing about supercars than about the dynamics of the second-hand EV market. But unfortunately, I now know quite a bit about that. And you can track it. COVID has such a knock-on effect that we're still dealing with.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
God, in what way?
Well, car hire firms had nobody to hire cars to.
Right.
Nobody would rent a vehicle, so they sold those off in mass. Cars couldn't be built with the same components that they were just before COVID because factories in Shenzhen were making kits and all sorts of other stuff. Shipping wasn't really working. So the cars were different. The ones that were made in 2020 and 2021 were different. Supply chain problems were happening all over the world. cars were being sent to different markets, and so the ripple effect is still happening to this day.
That's right.
And then everybody has a knee-jerk response and says, well, we must meet these demands and build squillions more cars. They do that, and then, as you say, Elon Musk put a Trump hat on, and suddenly everybody buys a Hyundai instead. So now is a good time to buy that car.
Right, okay, that's interesting. I'm just asking for a friend here. Do they make petrol cars?
No, they don't.
Just
Tesla
ones?
doesn't. But Kia is very good. They make petrol cars as well.
Right.
You're a petrol?
I've had a car for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And it didn't cost very much in the first place. And its attraction to me is because I remember cars before the digital age.
Yeah.
When you open up the bonnet and look for the engine, you can see the road underneath.
Yeah,
it.
you can see the bits.
It's like I know what a Fiat engine is.
Yeah.
I can see what it is.
Is it a Fiat that you
Yes.
drive?
I've got a very, very good car. It's the best Fiat I've ever seen.
You're a multiple Fiat owner.
Yeah, I had a little 600,
Yeah.
which apparently means 600. And now I've got a 500, a 500.
Yeah.
But like very big and tall, you don't have to crouch into it. It's a very, very well designed car.
Yeah.
Very good car. And I paid very, very little for it because it's a Fiat.
Yeah.
But it's now 11 years old.
Is it still working?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Keep it. That's the only...
It's such a good car.
The best car to buy is the one you already have.
Yeah.
Because you'll buy something else whizzy, you'll be tempted into a car that only costs £10,000.
I know.
And then it won't go well.
And it doesn't rust like the old days. The gears don't go...
Oh,
they don't.
You have had Fiats before then?
Yes.
They go back,
yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Italian cars used to be quite bad.
Yeah, but there's something un-multinational about them. They're sort of a bit more rustic and nice, and you think, it was made in Torino for people who are Torinese. And that's it, because they all got small feet, so it's like tiny little pedals.
Snake-hipped little Italian men driving down cobbled streets. Exactly.
That's
it works,
me.
precisely
That's
the
me
same.
when I look in the mirror.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Is that or a Vespa, really, isn't it?
That's
or a
right,
scooter?
exactly.
How long is your commute?
Well, it's the school run mainly, so it's 4 miles, which isn't great for the clutch.
No, but the clutch still original clutch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's pretty good.
That will be your choice, won't it? When it gets to about 16 years old, the clutch will go, and you'll think, is it worth spending a couple of grand on it?
Like a write-off. In write-off territory.
But no, I endorse the current car that you have. I think.
Thank you, Ed. Well, I'll tell the missus. She'll be delighted.
Not enough.
Might bring you over for the advice.
Very happy
she'll
to
be
just give it a thumbs up. Unless, of course, I get there and it's a complete wreck with the.
No, it's a very nice one. It's very red. All very, very good. Now, should we go through the papers?
We should.
Now, have you done a little bit of research on the papers, or did you fancy just going through the front pages?
I have flicked through the front pages for tomorrow, and I think we have all of them apart from the FT, maybe.
Right. Well, we can make up the FT.
We can make up the FT, and the Telegraph is in very low res, so you can't see the news in briefs at the bottom.
Okay.
But we can make those up as well, and we can probably guess them.
So we'll start with The Sun. The Sun. Shall we? The budget strikes again, and they've somehow managed to cobble Pep Guardiola onto the front page.
Yeah.
Rachel boots Pep up the tapas.
It's quite good. I think it's good.
The city boss's diner closes. He's been hit by Reeves's tax grab. Pep Guardiola's restaurant is shutting down. It's a victim of Labour Chancellor Rachel Reeves' brutal budget tax attack. The Manchester City boss opened Test Català, which is obviously a Catalonian restaurant, because that's where he's from, in the city 7 years ago. And the tapas diner became a favourite with Premier League stars, including Erling Haaland. But despite Pep's huge financial backing, the restaurant will close on Saturday, with its team blaming exceptionally challenging trading conditions and increased costs. On the same day, I think Gary Neville is refusing to pay his tax bill for his closed-down restaurant. So if you're a Premier League footballer, ex-footballer, don't open a restaurant, it appears.
You're a sportsman. Have you been to these restaurants?
No.
Well, do you think they're any good?
I am a person who likes food more than brand.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's, Pep's restaurant, I'm not going.
Really?
I don't need to.
No.
I like good food from the place I like to go. I mean, if Unai Emery had a Basque restaurant, I might think twice and have a pop round there.
Catalan food is delicious.
Is it?
Yeah, really nice.
I mean, I love Catalonia.
Yeah.
I love Barcelona.
Yeah, it's great.
And Sitges. I love those places.
Yeah, well, maybe you should go before it closes. You've got a narrow window. I don't know. Whenever I hear about a restaurant closing, I suspect there's more to it than the tax implications.
Yes, you can't just blame the money.
Can't be that.
And there's a sad story here, which you'll have to buy The Sun for, opening up on the inside pages, that there's been... Because Kirsty McCall, do you remember, she was killed in a boating accident on holiday, And apparently there's some kind of cover-up all those years later.
Yeah.
Sad, huh? Sad.
Very sad.
And
That was a long time ago. That was before my time.
Yeah. Do you remember her?
No, not really. I mean,
well, you know the song,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
one with
yeah.
Pogue Mahone bloke, Shane McGowan.
yes. But,
Yeah,
long time ago.
shame those people are gone. The Times, what a busy front page. Betty, Michael Crawford got an award from Trump and said, I'm very happy to have got it. Trump's done a whoopsie on the carpet,
Yeah.
So he's a Trump man.
It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Michael Crawford.
Out of nowhere. What's he
Yeah.
been doing recently?
Well, not much,
Well,
but I mean,
that's
he
it.
lives off the old glory. It's funny, isn't it? Because you get these people who you project your
Yeah.
best wishes upon them, and then you find out that they're not your kind of person. I'm not talking personally here. The funniest one, the one that gave me the most pleasure,
Yeah.
was obviously the bloke who you thought was wokey with the big hair, wore the flowers out of his gym jams, and sung all those songs about being depressed.
Yeah.
Morrissey,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
He always thought he was a woke meister and a bit of a socialist. Turns
Yeah.
out to be Britain first.
Yeah, completely.
Dave Baddiel
Yep.
cried. He cried.
Oh,
That made me laugh.
Yeah, no, that Morrissey, but he's been on a bit of a spiral for decades. That wasn't a complete surprise.
But I mean, when you hear his songs, you think he's
No.
he's a hapless, wokey. don't you?
Exactly.
That's what you think he is. But actually, at the end of the day,
Yeah,
he's all super Tommy, isn't he? He's that guy.
I reckon it depends where they live. The further you move away from wherever you were being a lefty, I think you can just disappear off to the coast and you can go very off the rails. You can go Britain first if you.
Yes.
If he'd stayed in.
Absolutely.
wherever.
But if you look at like your average Premier League footballer who's English, right?
Yep.
Right. Which one of them wants to voluntarily say, no, I want to go back to Deptford and live in the council block that I lived in, or I want to live in the back-to-back house in Saltley? No. You want to be on 300 grand a week and live in Alderley Edge.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense.
It does. You follow. Yeah,
Of
follow the money.
course you do.
Follow the money.
Because that's life,
Yeah.
man. So, good luck to him. He wrote some interesting songs. How soon is now? As soon as I can pay the tax bill.
Yeah. John Cleese as well. Didn't John Cleese? Didn't he get cancelled recently?
He did, but I think John was always from a sort of slightly upper, sort of upper middle class kind of approach, wasn't he?
An upper
He was
middle
always
class.
that
The
guy. He
footlights.
wasn't working class.
I've always assumed they're all quite lovey and.
I think
lefty
they
and-
are.
Yeah.
I think they are. But yes, he is. He's a bit. He's a bit on the right. But you're allowed to be. You're allowed to have your own opinions.
I didn't actually find out why he was cancelled. It could have been entirely.
No, but I think he's actually, because I'll tell you why. He's making some dodgy anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic references online, which
Really?
he actually decided to apologise for, and I think he says very, very soon I'm going to Israel, and he's 80-something. So if that happens, I mean, it's another thing. I mean,
Yeah.
they love a good laugh in Israel. They do. I'm telling you.
Do you think they flew him over? Do you think this was a PR?
No. He hasn't gone yet. He said
okay.
at some point I'm going to go. He's not like Elton or Robbie Williams or Macca who like to go over there and play music because it's a free country. They like to play music.
I don't think Fawlty Towers really reached that market at the time. Maybe
There's a lot of Anglo-Saxon expats who like a bit of a laugh out there. I'm sure.
A little bit of a laugh.
So the Times is this front page. I mean, the editor has a proper go here because the front page will take you 15 minutes to get through. Anti-misogyny courses are aimed to stop 11-year-olds becoming killers. That's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? Okay, so Geraldine Scott, assistant political editor, writes that boys as young as 11 will be sent on anti-misogyny courses designed to stamp out violence against women and girls under government plans. Basically, men are being outlawed again. Pupils who cause concern will be put on behaviour change programmes in schools that will focus on challenging deep-rooted misogynistic influences. The Prime Minister said, every parent should be able to trust their daughter is safe at school, online and in her relationships, as the government announced its long-awaited strategy to halve violence against women and girls. Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister, pledged to deploy the full power of the state to introduce the largest crackdown to stop violence perpetrated against women and girls. Right, I have 2 daughters and they're primary school girls. The threat to them, is not particularly visible. The boys in her class are okay. Sometimes she gets a little bit of bullying from the bad boy. There's 1 or 2 bad boys in the class of a school of 25 in the class. But, you know, these girls are clever enough at 10 years old to deal with these things. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but there's a little bit of anti-male sentiment.
Yeah, 11's
about
quite
this.
young.
You know, and sort of to reinvent the way you're allowed to think.
I wonder what the warning signs will be to get you shepherded into one of these classes. And also, do you remember when you did drugs talks and don't play on railway lines?
Yeah.
Did it ever actually influence you in any way? Do you think that...
I think so. I mean, even at level crossings, I'm still scared.
Okay, and you think that's because of the videos
I
they
do.
showed you
I
in
mean,
year
you
four?
know, I do, even if the barrier's open, I do look both ways.
Okay, interesting.
Because in the 70s, I was told.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous, and I have seen some of the worst examples of CCTV where someone's trainer gets
yes.
caught. I mean, that could have been his whole leg.
Yeah.
And somehow it just clipped his trainer. He lost his trainer when the train went by. I live with that in my head. So
Okay.
yeah, these things do happen.
We had don't play on building sites a lot in the 90s growing
yeah.
up. That was obviously they'd moved past trains.
Yeah.
And they were really concerned that I was going to break into a building site and injure myself on the equipment there.
I've got to tell you something really funny, because when they rebuilt our school in the 70s, they didn't cordon off any of it. There were mixing
Sure.
machines in the playground, and one of the builders wanted to throw little Tommy into the mixer. You know, this was the 70s.
Sure. So it was because of you that I
It's
had
healthy.
to sit through
It's
that.
just better. It was
Yeah.
just a better time.
It was. You were lucky. The survivors
It was a
were
better
lucky.
time. I learned how to bricklay at 9.
Yeah.
Police vow to stamp out chants for Intifada, and I'm furious about this. Right, I wasn't supposed to be on air this week. I'm delighted to be on the show tonight for Petri, but we had another mass murder of Jewish people celebrating Hanukkah. Now, Hanukkah is the nicest festival. It's Jewish Christmas. You light candles, you know, every night for 8 nights. And everyone exchanges presents. You get little gold coins, give chocolatey coins to the kids, and you sing really nice songs. It's not like a really deeply religious festival. It's like a little festival. It's la 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 la. It's Jewish Christmas in a way. It's the same kind of time of year. And then this happens, and people will think about this for many, many years to come. And the story of Hanukkah is about the liberation of the temple from, you know, the similar scumbags who committed that terrible crime in Bondi. And now the cops here have said that they're going to arrest more pro-Palestinian protesters after the cops in both London and Manchester are pledging to crack down on those who keep chanting "Globalise the Intifada." And in a joint statement, Mark Rowley and Stephen Watson basically said that they understand it is a call for violence against Jews. Duh, of course it is. The words and chants used, especially in protests, matter, and they have real-world consequences. We have consistently been advised by the CPS that many of the phrases causing fear in Jewish communities don't meet prosecution thresholds, but now, in the escalating threat context, we will recalibrate to be more assertive.
That will be the test, won't it?
I mean, but there's other words they say. You know, they say, I mean, I don't want to repeat it, really. But they say all the worst things that you think about basically killing Jews. I'm going to just leave it there. I mean, are they going to arrest them for all the other potty-mouthed rubbish that they say?
What do you know? What is banned? Do you know what is? Do they have a,
globalise the Intifada.
That's
and
the
from
reason.
the river to the sea
But
is a version of that.
But that's been banned for a while, I thought.
Well, the cops then sort of say things like, or they did before today.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's got to be in context. Sadiq Khan said, "Oh yeah, it's not always bad."
Okay.
I mean, really.
But
really?
The test will be whether the CPS picks up on it, because they might arrest somebody. The CPS says, let him go.
Yeah, well, they can't. They just can't. You can't allow for this, because we've had a Yom Kippur shooting. Unfortunately, one of the bullets went through the terrorist and hit the guy securing the door. So it was a police bullet, tragically. Well, that's the
and it
worst
was
thing.
a security guard, wasn't it?
He was a volunteer.
Oh, okay.
member of the synagogue. You know, a lot of people are part of the voluntary. These people are not trained. They just want to protect their own. And they're given sort of rudimentary training, which is there's the alarm.
Yeah.
You know, there's the key. There's the lock.
Sure.
I mean, that's kind of what it amounts to.
But he wasn't a bouncer professionally.
He was just a bloke.
Just a guy,
and he's
yeah.
dead, and that's terrible. So here's what the chief rabbi said about it. He said that Rowley and Watson's intervention is the most welcome development. And this week, Ephraim Mervis, he went to Australia to meet those affected by the massacre, said it had to be made clear that chants like globalise the Intifada were unlawful. Now, this is something that hits home for me, right? Because at the end of my street, there was a siege. Okay, and on the front of this very posh white stucco building, they put out a banner. I've got a photo of it. It's called Globalise the Intifada, okay? And not everyone knows exactly what that means. Anyway, it turned out that they were sort of 8 or 10 squatters who weren't very powerful, but nasty message. And the riot police turned up. About 30 with those perspex shields turned up to finish it off, to get rid of it. And they did. And when they confronted the kids, they realised they didn't really need all the shields. But the message outside was really serious terror-related things. People get it, but they didn't act on it. And the cops went in and finished it off very quickly. Thanks very much. The place is now permanently closed. It's got a warning saying we're watching you.
Yeah.
You know, it's outside.
Don't do this again.
It's a shame because the building is beautiful. It's there in Regent's Park. There it is. And it's in Sir Keir Starmer's constituency, right? And he declared for Palestine without condition with those words ringing on one of the buildings in his constituencies.
Do you think he's changed his tune since?
I have no idea. The only way he could really prove that he had changed his mind on it is to actually undeclare for Palestine.
Has he mentioned anything since this announcement? Because they've been talking about it all day.
Well, is he quoted in here?
I don't think so. I don't think he's quoted in the article at all.
No.
Because it's a police decision, but it would be an interesting thing for him not to comment on, I think.
Yeah,
tomorrow,
because, I mean, I've heard him speak publicly, Ed, where he says, I can't intervene in the hate marches. Why? You're the most powerful man in the country. I can't intervene in the BBC because it's an independent organisation. OK, I know that the BBC are free of government intervention, although there are some times when incitement to violence means that it crosses over into his inbox.
And national security. They can give him a nudge on all sorts of topics that if they want to.
Absolutely.
I'm sure MI5 has a hotline to say, don't do that.
You don't do it. Would you mind?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you mind, like John LeMajorier?
Precisely.
Would you mind stopping that? I really think it's unwise. And I'm still on the front of the Times. Like I told you, it's really good. So here we go. Look, a lovely picture of.
We're only halfway through.
We are. Look, here we go. So there's a picture, a really emotional, really very, very good picture. The press photographer who took this picture will win an award. Exhaustion and relief showing for 2 Ukrainian soldiers. Named as Denis and Dmitro, who've returned to the rear after 130 days of fighting on the front line with the 93rd Mechanized Brigade near Konstantinivka in the Donetsk region. Donetsk, of course, is the ground zero for this war because that's what America thinks Russia, thinks that Russia should get.
Yeah, they think that's...
Which is very bad for Shakhtar Donetsk's Champions League opportunities for next season, isn't it? I mean, I'm being serious. This should fight on. It's terrible, fight on.
And also 130 days, that's summer. That's been going on since summer.
It's terrible, isn't it? And we'll talk about Abramovich clinging on to £2.5 billion for the Ukraine, or is he? Because as far as I remember, the money was seized and frozen by Boris. We'll have a chat, we'll unpack this story in just a moment. We'll take a short break, but 2 people have already been arrested this evening after shouting slogans calling for intifada, says the Met. So they've already started, they really mean this. The arrests were made during a protest by these Pali demonstrators outside the Ministry of Justice in Westminster. A third person was arrested for obstructing the cops as they made the first 2 arrests for the chanting. So it looks like they really mean it. Okay, we'll take a short break. Ed Wiseman's here. Every incentive, stay tuned. I'm Johnny, he's Ed. You're with Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Christmas 2025 means New Year 2026, doesn't it? Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you wherever you're listening or watching right across the world. We are Talk. We are based in London. I'm Jonny Gould. I'm standing in for Petri, and Andre and Ash will be here at the same time tomorrow evening. And for the papers, we have to look no further than Ed Wiseman.
Here I am.
Ed is here in the studio. Now, this Sir Keir Starmer story, right? Give £2.5 billion to Ukraine, the Prime Minister tells Abramovich.
Yeah.
Sir Keir Starmer has told the former Chelsea owner to hand over this massive wad from the sale of Chelsea to Ukraine war victims or face court action. The PM told MPs that Mr Abramovich must pay up now as he issued a formal licence for long-promised funds to be released. The threat is an attempt by the government to force Abramovich to fulfil his promise to donate money from the sale of the Premier League club to war victims before ministers resort to legal action. Now, there's a couple of facts here that need to be added.
Go on.
And so when Boris basically forced Russians out of London and told the Russian and Belarusian players out of Wimbledon, I mean, he really properly wielded an axe on behalf of Ukraine. Todd Bowley, the Chelsea owner, bought the club off, theoretically bought the club off Abramovich, but the money has been frozen all these years. So what they're asking for is consent to unfreeze the money. They're not asking him for the money because he's never had it. Okay, so this is like a little caveat. This is him trying to make him look good. Abramovich, this is a negotiation now for Abramovich. He's a Russian. He is a dissident of Putin. In terms of being one of the oligarchs under Putin, he was quite law-abiding and respectful of him.
Yeah.
But I'm not clear how Putin-y he is these days.
They're all quite Putin-y, aren't they?
Well, maybe they have to be.
They have to be
killed,
a little
right?
bit. Yeah, exactly. I would be in his situation.
Yeah,
How
would
many
you?
billions?
Yeah, 6 or 7.
It's a
What
different
fantastic.
world,
He was a
isn't it?
market trader, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He sold children's toys.
Yeah, that was it.
Brilliant.
Billions of times.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What a fantastic thing. It's like 25 blokes.
Yeah.
You can have slough nest,
Yeah.
but I'm from apartment block in Moscow. I'll tell you what, you find 50 million and it's worth 8 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically a
Pretty much. Wild time.
outrageous. What a chance.
I think he's the more charismatic of that group, because a lot of them were just not particularly.
Well, a lot of them have been killed, haven't they?
A lot of them have died, and you just Abramovich at least did something interesting rather than just disappearing off.
He
into
did that to be very visible, didn't he?
Oh yeah, absolutely, because
Yeah.
he's safe. That's the thing. That's
Yeah,
his insurance.
yeah, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's I'd have done exactly the same.
Before the kick-up, would you have done Chelsea? I would have bought Villa.
Oh really? Okay, fair enough. I would have gone.
I'm buying Villa.
I would have
not
gone.
wasting my money in the King's Road. I'm going down the Villa. Right, here's $1 billion, mate.
I wonder what they think when they come over here, and do they just shop around and think I could have that?
Well,
one?
apparently he flew over London in a helicopter and saw Spurs.
Yeah.
Said,
Okay.
I want Tottenham.
Yeah.
And then he flew over the river. Well, they're not over the river, they're just north of the river.
Yeah.
But he said, oh, you're Chelsea. And then Ken Bates and Colin Hutchison thought, there's an opportunity. To be fair to Ken Bates, who was a very entrepreneurial and interesting Chelsea chairman, I mean, he was there for a very long time. They zipped between the Championship and the Premier League, and they weren't much of a team. They were a bit Queen's Park Rangersy and Norwichy and Leicestery, and they used to get relegated, promoted. And then he turned around to Colin Hutchison in the early 90s and said, should we go for it? Because the Premier League money had just arrived. And he started bringing over Ruud Gullit and Gianfranco Zola and Gianluca Vialli, and they went for it.
Yeah.
Right, and then Chelsea suddenly won cups and did do very well. And he built up the business very successfully. Even in his last year, Chelsea finished 4th and qualified for the Champions League with a very, very good manager, the guy who eventually won the league with Leicester City, whose name is Claudio Ranieri. A very, very underrated manager who did great business with Chelsea, and then of course they sacked him immediately and brought in all sorts of people that they wanted from Manchester United. They brought in Peter Kenyon from United. They tried to nick Alex Ferguson. They thought money was no object.
Yeah.
And indeed it was for a bit. They brought in all sorts of players, and then they won the league and they won the European Cup and everything.
Just because of unlimited money.
Unlimited money. I mean, they kind of gamed the Premier League, and all kind of legislation that's come in the meantime has tried to quell that. And now Chelsea are now one of the biggest clubs in the world. They can't stop that because they have now delivered a football club from all that previous kind of easygoing money. I mean, the Glazers as well. I mean, they used... We're so naive in this country. They used leveraged buyout.
Yeah.
Right, you can't do that in FLA. So Glazer, you know, Malcolm is now dead. Malcolm, and there was Joel and the other one. They turned around to each other and they were sitting there in the trailer park. They own loads of trailer parks. They own all the kind of funny stuff in FLA in Florida, right? And they said, so what are we going to do? You heard about this thing in the soccer? Apparently you can buy the club with their own money. Oh, you can't do that in the US. It's a federal this and that. Yeah, right. Should we go and find out?
Can you still do it here now?
I don't know.
I thought they closed that.
Well, they think they need to. Because, of course, they looked at the New York Yankees and the New York Mendes and the New York Hotspalotzes, and they looked at them and they thought, well, we can't do this over here. Look at Manchester United. That club is bigger. Than New York, and it's worth about a fifth of the value. So they've gone in there and they have built this business so big that it took the Qataris and Jim Ratcliffe to try and unseat them. And they still haven't sold it. So it's just shocking, isn't it?
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating.
It is really interesting.
Yeah.
Off the pitch, it's almost more interesting.
Especially if you support Birmingham City. That's really boring. You just concentrate on the football team. I'm an Aston Villa fan.
Oh, really?
Thank God for that.
I grew up in Kent. We didn't have anything. We had Gillingham.
You have Gillingham, and also you have the hinterland of Charlton Athletic.
Sort of.
Oh, we've got an addict through there.
Oh, really?
An addict. Well done. They drew at Birmingham City this weekend.
They're obviously quite good. That's my nearest one up in London. But I still don't. Gills is... it's hard to get excited about.
Well, best of luck.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Now, okay, so that's Abramovich. Have you got a word on that, or should we move on?
I mean, I think we've covered most of it. We went from Abramovich down to sort of League Two in the course of about 15 minutes. Sorry for lowering the tone.
Plus time added on for stoppages. Now, streeting won't rule out mandatory masks. Because now when you walk down the road, people are scared of that super flu, so people are starting to wear those masks again.
I'm scared of the super flu.
Are you?
Yeah,
well,
I got a jab.
Did you?
Yeah, I paid for the jab.
Right.
Because I had.
But it's last year's flu.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I've read about it since, and I went to quite a sketchy chemist, so I imagine it was probably a couple of years ago.
What about your doc? They offer it.
No, I'm not in any of the age groups. I had to pay £20 or something.
Right.
Because I had like a sniffle.
I've just outed myself.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't going to mention that. Like, sorry, Grandpa, I don't get those letters.
Oi. I'm just a dad.
I think it's only 50 that you have to be there, isn't it? It's not that old.
Is that right?
I think.
Thank you.
I think you're already. I'm in a narrow band of not being considered at risk. I'm left to fend for myself.
Are you under 30?
No, I'm not. No. I'm over 30. But I think if you're a student, you get it free. Right. Basically, any demographic apart from me.
Apart from you, you look strong enough to deal with it yourself.
Exactly, but I'm not. I'm feeble. So I went to the chemist and bought it.
Well, it's good for you. Good for you, because you're doing something for society as well.
I hope so.
And then other people won't get it. And the Health Secretary said there was no need for mask mandates at this stage, as he was asked by MPs about rising flu levels. So Streeting said most people visiting hospitals and care homes would happily comply with requests to wear masks. In an old people's home, I would. I mean, COVID killed old people, I mean, basically in their thousands and maybe millions around the world. He said the time has not yet come for everyone to wear masks, but what we are supporting frontline leaders to do is to determine whether it is the right thing to do. And I'll tell you what, Ed, the reason why I don't like this is because you're talking about COVID being like a halo. if there was a flu outbreak before 2019, the health secretary of the time would not have asked us to wear masks.
No.
It's like it's become sort of a habit, a normalisation.
Well, they bought all those dodgy masks, didn't they? They need to get rid of them somewhere. Billions of pounds worth of masks.
Oh, blimey.
It's good money if you can get it.
Absolutely.
I think, I'm probably not going to wear a mask again. I've got a couple kicking about.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised. I don't think people will do it.
No, I think we're a bit more resistant to being asked to do that stuff.
Yeah, I think we've been through that phase.
I know what you mean.
And all the old people are dead now because of COVID.
Oh dear.
So.
Yeah.
No.
More papes with Ed after this. Stay tuned. It's Jonny here on Talk with me and my pal Ed, my new best mate.
BFFs.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, you are welcome, aren't you? You are welcome. A very good evening to you. 19 minutes until the next day here on Talk. I'll still be here. Ed Wiseman is reviewing the papers with me. And should we go to the I paper?
I think we should.
I like the I paper because it does little asterisk headlines underneath the main ones. It kind of gives you a little summary. The UK peacekeepers are getting ready to be deployed to Ukraine. Now, Russia did say, didn't they, that all British soldiers who are deployed to the Ukraine are legitimate targets. So, God forbid, when one British soldier is killed, this accelerates the war which Russia wants with the rest of Europe, NATO and the European Union, because Putin wants his Soviet Union back. He won't get Poland, because Poland has the biggest military in Europe and has become quite westernised, you know, over the last few. I'm just playing. I've got caught. Sorry.
What are you stuck in? Do you need rescue?
Things fallen out. Sorry, I feel like Major Tom.
No,
I feel like ground control. I thought my thing's fallen. I'm sorry. Just give me 1 second.
Let me know if you need
My
rescue.
circuit's dead. There's something wrong. Can you hear me,
Plugging
Major
back in
Tom?
again.
Sorry, I'll get there. Sorry, I just caught the back of me. What's it? Can you hear? And there's
back in the room.
Plane. Far planet Earth is blue, and I'm back.
Thank goodness.
Thanks, Dave.
It's getting weird in here.
Yeah, but you know, it's always going to be, isn't it? Now, back to this serious story.
Yes.
Putin has said that British troops will be targets. He's then sort of quietly declared war on us by going after our infrastructure a little bit near our waters, some of it inside our waters. Yeah. I spoke to Andrew Fox, who's one of the leading military strategists out there in the media, a former paratrooper, a real proper soldier in Afghanistan, served with the American Armed Forces. His grandfather, I think, was in the American Army. And I said, what about this, Andrew? You know, what about Putin declaring war on us? He said, we annihilate them. He then talked about Poland. Well, Poland would be in the front line. And, you know, the Baltic states, they I mean, they might be a bit weaker than Poland, but Finland won't take any truck.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk about a world war. We've had, you know, I don't want to talk about World War.
I feel like we just had one almost.
Well, literally 20 years after I was born. 20 years before I was born, 23 years after I was born. I don't want a war.
No, I know.
What's wrong with people?
Things are just getting nice. Well, they were in about 1998.
In all seriousness, though, you know, the post-war settlement that we grew up in between 1945 and, say, I don't know, 2020 is being really severely disrupted. The politics of the West.
Well, surely 9/11 was there.
Yeah, 9/11 might have been the trigger, but then we had, you know, the Blair years and the Cameron years, and everything seemed to just roll on, didn't it? We had the decadent European Union years where everything was okay, low inflation and everything. So I'm just saying that the point, I mean, it's taken about 15 years since 9/11, sort of the Corbyn election and the Bernie Sanders phenomenon and all this pro-Palestinian crap going on around the Western world, massacres of Jews in France and the United States and Britain and Australia, and obviously big terror attacks on the entire population indiscriminately, like Bataclan and London and Manchester Victoria, the Ariana Grande concert. We're seeing a breakdown in the post-war settlement, aren't we? Which will lead to a multipolar world of competing territories and armies and a war. I don't want a war.
No, I was thinking
I don't want a war.
It's nice to go to Europe and everybody's kind of getting on.
Yeah. But yeah.
And also,
how are we going to fix this, man?
Well, I don't know. We've only got 15 minutes left. But the
I think we can do it.
To solutionise.
I think we've got a few ideas.
And there was a gap as well after the IRA stopped blowing up London.
Yeah.
And then before everybody else did, there was a narrow window.
That's right.
Only about 5 years.
That's right. In the late 90s, things were amazing, weren't they?
I think so.
In fact, the only bad thing that came out of that sort of peace time was the Spice Girls.
That was a naive time in music as well, wasn't it?
It was.
I was thinking this. There's only something like 6 years between the Spice Girls charting and the Killers chanting. It's an amazing window where we just lost that naivety. Steps could never have charted in 2003 or 5.
Right, that's interesting.
When you know Mr. Brightside was top of the chart for weeks on end.
That's right.
And that just something happened, and I do blame 9/11 frankly for this.
It's so interesting. You know, when you listen to radio stations geared for slightly older.
Well, I don't, obviously.
You do.
No.
You do. You know all the songs.
I skip through.
No.
Back to Radio 2.
When you listen to an FM radio station or a DAB radio station that plays records that were hits in the 90s and the 80s, and you listen to some of the lyrics, you wouldn't hear them today.
Oh yeah.
There's one song which I know we're deviating from the papers a bit here. There's that reggae song where the guy says, "Girl, I want to make you sweat until you can't." What is he doing?
Yeah.
Stop it.
He's a PT.
He's like, don't do it. I think that song, just forget about it, man.
Yeah. The lyrics often don't stand up to modern scrutiny.
They don't, do they?
In that era.
Yep.
I think Kiss now has a 2010 station.
Oh yes.
That's how old we're getting.
They call records that when I was in my 40s old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm thinking, I'm 43 when that was out.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that means you two may be old school.
Oh, they're proper ancient school.
Yeah.
I don't think they had education in those days, did they? Anyway, so that's that. I'm very, very concerned. Where will World War break out? Will it break out on the borders of Jordan and Israel, or Turkey and Syria and Israel, or Ukraine and Russia, or China and Taiwan, or Venezuela and America?
Venezuela and America is hotting up tonight, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
The Navy is escorting tankers. I think none of the above. I think a bizarre proxy war will break out somewhere that nobody's thought about for ages.
Yes.
It'll be Moldova.
Well,
when was the last time you thought about Moldova?
Well, recently, because I think Russia are going to invade Moldova because there's only a population of 800,000. They're not part of NATO, and they may as well. It's like a Nazi thing going into Austria.
Yeah.
You know, and will the Moldovans accept them? I don't know why he hasn't done it. I'm not putting ideas in your head, Pooty, but I do worry about Moldova because they're tiny and they could take them in 40 minutes.
I think, they can walk from one side to the other quite rapidly. I think Moldova, that would be where my mind is at. None of the big tensions that are currently being written about.
Same old, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You only have to flick back to 1930, and you just see it playing out again.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your plan is if World War III breaks out.
Well, we won't be allowed to leave the country. That's the first thing.
Well, not to draw more attention to your age, but I'm the one getting conscripted here.
Yeah,
you're probably in the clear.
I'm done. I've been done for a few years.
Yeah, you'll be just.
What about my kids?
Well, how old are they?
No, they're kids, but I'm saying that at some point they'll grow up.
Yeah.
That's
well,
the world.
Well, how old are they now?
They're in single digits. They're kids.
Okay. Oh, fine. Oh, really? Real kids.
Yeah.
So, but are they in the cadets? Are they going to go into?
I don't know. I don't want them to be militarised.
No.
The Daily Telegraph: £8 billion cost of EU student exchange, and so this is at the same time as the employment laws are going to be brought in, which will stop a lot of working class people taking blue collar jobs because small business won't take them on because they'll be scared to do so because the costs and possibly the disputes coming out of employment will be prohibitive for small businesses. So now, not only that, for university kids, they've got more of a chance in the EU. So they're looking after the elite kids and then looking after the young kids. And that's why I don't like this. I'm going to have to take the glass off to read this. It's a bit of an eye test. Britain's, I can't read it, its definition, but the whole point is that Erasmus, which is the European Union exchange for British students, which we came out of with Brexit.
And other students, they swap around as well themselves.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's all a good thing. I don't say it's a bad thing, but it's not for everyone. You know, if you've had a comprehensive school education, you ain't going to go on an Erasmus.
No, it's for Harrys and Ruperts and so on.
I'm not going to be classist here, but they need to look after working class people as well. They need to make employment law more mobile for working class kids as well, for kids who haven't got that education, that university opportunity.
Do you think they will do that? Do you think they'll start making it more accessible to people?
I hope so, but I don't think so. See, I'm an accident here.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I left school at 18, right, and I am blessed and lucky to have picked a career, a white-collar career with upward mobility, where I didn't need university.
Yeah.
So I take with me these attitudes perhaps of working class and lower middle class, whatever the terms are, kind of ideas into a world of wokery where people dispute and argue with me because I've seen something else growing up. I'm just lucky to have chosen journalism, and still today you can leave school at 15 and be the best journalist. Yeah. You really can. That's what I love about journalism.
But will you get the first job these days?
I think you might. For example, over at our friends at Talk Sport, I think a lot of kids there, I haven't asked each and every one, but I know some kids phone up and said, oh, I want to be in sport, and they get into sport, and then they become very good journalists, very good producers, because you need a skill set, which means you've got a brain, you don't necessarily need the formal education to do it. Yeah. That's why I love sports journalism and news journalism and this place for that. It's a great culture.
And it does let people come up through internships and apprenticeships, and it is more accessible,
it is, I think. But we also need journalists like you, Ed.
Well, I don't have a degree either.
Don't you? No. We'll talk about that in a moment. We've got to take a break. See you in a bit.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
We've just had a fantastic conversation, which I'm going to declare on air. We were talking about second sons in the royal family, and obviously Harry's had his travails, and Prince Andrew, or Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, has had his as well. But
Yeah.
I'd love to be Prince William's baby brother.
That would
I'd just
be
get
nice.
on. I'd just love it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't cause any trouble.
Or do you think that
I'd just upstage him all the time.
Yeah.
We'd both be talking about the villa, although he knows quite a lot about it, to be fair to him.
He's got the time.
He's got the time. I mean, I'd have the time too.
He goes to the
I'd
matches.
have a cracking wife as well. Not
Yeah.
that my wife isn't beautiful, but because you're a prince.
Yeah.
You just can do whatever you want.
They
Can't
don't
you?
look friendly.
He smiles though, Wills. Doesn't he?
He smiles. He smiles. I reckon they do a relaunch. I reckon there's going to be a big push in the new
Do
year.
they? Do Wills and Kathy
Yeah.
need one?
I think so.
Do they?
I think they need rehabilitation.
Do they?
go down? In
They're
the
not
public-
doing well?
No.
Really?
People used to talk about them the whole time.
Right.
And now-
but is it best actually like the Queen, sort of like rein it in, lad?
Maybe.
It's best to kind of don't court the headlines. Let Harry and Meghan do it.
Do whatever they're doing. out
and then
there.
you'll just get on with being, first in line to the throne
Yeah.
after Charles. You don't really want that
Don't
stuff.
you want to rock the boat.
And she's done
necessarily.
great for a commoner.
Oh yeah.
She shakes hands. She looks beautiful.
Looks the
She's
part.
Really great. She does. She looks the part
Yeah.
for just a regular girl from Berkshire.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well done, her. Now, we were talking about mobility, and I praised journalism. And you also
Yes.
have an interesting background that you found your way into journalism.
In as much as I don't have a degree,
Right.
certainly.
Me too.
Which I think is relatively unusual in any office job in London.
Is it? Yeah, because everyone goes to university now.
Everyone goes to university as a matter of course, but I started younger. So I dropped out of college quite rapidly and then started doing shifts at my local paper.
Well done. That's exactly what I did.
But is this... Do you,
Not papers, but radio.
Right, exactly. Were you on a local station?
I was on BBC Radio WM.
Is that
Great
yeah,
training.
and that still exists.
Great training.
Yeah.
Fantastic place.
So you went straight into BBC. You didn't start at hospital radio.
I did
or-
start. No, I had to. I
Yeah.
was. By the time I got to WM, I was 19 and I had a deep voice for a kid.
Okay.
And I could do the job. And I'd been a hospital radio for a couple of years,
Yeah.
really learning my things.
Yeah.
I was an in-store DJ at a radio station. This one's Kylie.
Cool.
I did all that. I've done every job in.
Yeah.
I am the Jimmy Hill of radio. I've done every job.
And you started at those sort of local voluntary roles.
I did the voluntary roles and I got paid 15 quid.
Yeah.
At WM. They
And
paid me
it-
15 quid when 15 quid really was 15 quid.
And that's one of the local stations that is still in existence.
It's a big
as well.
station.
Yeah.
I mean, WM means West Midlands. It's a proper big station. And then shortly afterwards, again, this mobility train.
Yeah.
Because I'd worked there, I got a job which wasn't so good at a London 0898 phone thing. In those days, you could phone up a football line.
Yeah.
And then I got the sports editor's job at the West Midlands radio station in the independent sector.
Yeah.
What a fantastic life.
So you hopped in and out and worked your way out.
Worked my way out from Beacon. I came to London, worked
Yep.
for all the big networks and stations. By then, I was 21, 23 years old. I was really experienced.
Yeah. That's
know,
what you do, and that's the thing.
Really experienced.
But, some of your colleagues who went to university would still be
They'd still be messing about
Yeah.
doing biotapestry
having
studies.
to ask to go to the loo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, they've caught up a bit.
Biotapestry.
It's exactly what they did. But they, but eventually they sort of, because they're university toffs,
Yeah.
they eventually, when they get into their 40s, they start getting the management jobs and they
Yeah.
start getting,
Yeah.
they start getting big money. But they had to play catch up. I was top of the table up till January.
Yeah.
It was great.
And that's what matters back then.
If I could live my life again, I'd do it exactly the same.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people wouldn't if they went to university and then spent another 10 years doing a junior, I don't know, consultancy role at Deloitte's on a grad scheme.
Yeah,
when
maybe that's going to change now. Maybe corporatism is going to change.
Well, apparently the big banks are struggling to attract people now that the minimum wage has gone up.
Right.
Why would you go and work sort of 70-hour weeks for JP Morgan if you could go and work at the Garden Centre for almost the same money?
The rise of the blue collar. Ed Wiseman, it's been absolutely brilliant.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for a
We
brilliant
only
hour.
got to the...
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
I've got to tell you, I've had more fun than you can shake a stick at in this show, and I just want to thank everyone through the window for making this possible. To Johnny Hearn, my producer, Johnny Hearn, to Gabriella in Galza, who set it all up before. What's my Charlton friend's name? Sam. Thank you, Sam. And who's at the back? Who's playing defence? Yana. Hello, Yana. Yes, I know you, Yana, of course. Just you look like a what no Chad. What no broadcasting? Thank you, Yana. So that's the team, man. And we're the team that wins right here on Talk. And I'm doing a lot of shows over Christmas and New Year. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I always love life here at Talk, and I really like to hear from you. And it's a bit of a club here, and I'm not just talking about the punters here who work together. I'm talking about you, because often the same people tweet us, text us, can't read all of them out, can't take all the calls, but it's nice to have you there and know that you're listening and watching. 0344 499 1000. We're gonna talk about all the things that we've spoken about in the show so far. And the big question, which is about the protests that keep going on and on and on. Many people calling them the hate marches. We've already seen that the police in London and Manchester really mean it when they said we're going to step up on people who use the term globalise the intifada from the river to the sea. Finally, the Jewish community who's been crying out at the threat of these words have real consequences. And finally, it takes another mass shooting in Bondi in Australia for the cops here to understand, to realise that they are upending society if they don't take action. Already, the cops have started to arrest people, one for obstruction and one for shouting this potty-mouthed nonsense. It has to be grabbed. It's an incitement, it's a threat to the society, to the stability of the nation that we live in. It's very un-British, isn't it? Isn't it? 0344 499 1000. Employment law changes as of tomorrow. The royal assent is given to the Workers' Rights Bill. What do you think about that? Stand up to the unions, ban doctors' strikes. What do you think of the doctors' strike? The fact that after getting a 22% pay rise in September of last year, the doctors are back saying they want even more better pay and conditions. What do you think to that? 0344 499 1000, 87222 on the text. You can tweet me at Jonny Gould and at talkTV. It is always good to hear from you. And that £2.5 billion that was the amount that Abramovich sold Chelsea for to Todd Boehly during the Russian embargo, when Boris basically kicked out all the Russians and froze all their money. Like, Abramovich has never seen that money. It has been frozen in a London bank account, okay? But what Starmer wants to do is get him to release the money so it goes to the war effort in the Ukraine. That's on the front page of the Metro. And now, let's go straight to our calls on this and many other issues. To Kevin in Hull. Kevin, hello. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, young man. How are you?
Oh, that's nice. You made a good start, Kevin. It's nice to speak to you. How are you?
Sorry. Me and the wife have got over the flu.
Oh, dear. Have you still got it?
Yeah, a little bit.
You really have?
Yeah, the wife works in hospital on night shifts, and unfortunately, she brought us home an early Christmas present.
Oh dear, because that's the thing about if you're a professional in a hospital, you are exposed so badly to the worst illnesses and diseases.
Yeah. I remember back in the COVID days.
Yeah.
I took my wife to hospital, and unfortunately in Hull, it's a massive building.
Yeah.
Massive flat building.
Yeah.
Several stories high. And when she saw it, she's a hard one. She started crying.
Do you know what? My mate, who was a surgeon at a hospital in London during the COVID era, he had to wear this polythene suit. And of course, because it's got no air vents in it, he sweats.
You sweated?
Sweated water. Like, well, not water, but sweat. Like he's covered in moisture from like a short period of time. And the other thing about all that water is it's potentially infected with COVID because of all the people he has to touch, you know, to make them better. And there was a point where he thought he might have to go and live somewhere else so as not to potentially kill his family with COVID. That was the real thought going on in his head.
I think the thing is, you're right. And unfortunately for the government, sorry, they knew it was coming over.
Yeah.
It got to Europe. There's flights in, flights out, and there was no full stop. There was no full stop in the country. And I believe because of that, it got in, and it materialised, and that was that, basically.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely right. So, what do you think about the doctors' strike, Kevin?
Well, personally, I don't really have a call on it, but because the wife works in hospital, she says, and quote, and I don't want to swear, but she says they're taking the piss.
Right.
And that's all she said.
Right.
You know, she's not a doctor.
Yes.
She's in charge of cleaning up theatres and whatnot. But she said, and quote, they're taking the piss. You know, I think other people might have other opinions. I think the doctors may have something more. But as a situation at work, which she's working there tonight, she's taking an article.
Kevin, do you think the British Medical Association, their union, has become more and more extreme? And actually, they're so extreme, they're not doing the bidding for the people. They're just sort of looking after themselves. They're not thinking holistically about the NHS. They're so selfish. They've got to a new level, and that these strikes will end up killing people. People will die because people aren't being attended to by doctors.
Yeah, I don't want to agree with you, but I will totally agree with you. I think you're right. It's like the Scargills of the mind.
It's too extreme, isn't it?
That.
Yeah.
You know, it's come on, we've got a job to do.
Yeah.
We're not in a good situation.
No.
Just let us get on with it.
Yeah.
You know, all right. How can I explain?
I know what you mean, Kevin. The other thing about jobs is there's a very big vacation about employment, isn't there? That if you are a career doctor, a career nurse, a career journalist, a career shopkeeper, there is part of it where you have to dig deep. You know, it's not just about the pay. You have to love your job. You have to want to do it. You have to take the rough with the smooth.
Yes.
And like, if you choose to be a doctor or a nurse, you know, and it is a tough job, okay, you have to sort of suck it up, some of it, don't you? It's just life, isn't it?
Right.
It's a job.
Absolutely right. I mean, I worked in a care home, which was challenging behaviour, which was, to put it mildly, and through COVID, these people could actually, before COVID, could go out in the community and, you know, play stuff in in play basketball, play bowling. They could do this and do that. But as soon as they went down in lockdown, they didn't know what COVID was, and we said, oh, it's a bad cold. So we waited a couple of weeks and said, well, why can't we go out now? And this was like nearly a year later.
Yeah.
And for us, the behaviours went through the roof.
Yeah.
But the staff left. They couldn't cope with it. You know, and like I was saying before, I took my wife to work, I took my daughter to work. They both worked in hospitals.
Yeah.
They both worked in COVID, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what I'm trying to say is now nobody recognises the sacrifices they made.
Absolutely right.
It's forgotten. It's forgotten.
Yeah, it's forgotten. It is. People are so ruthless about the past. They don't think about the sacrifices, the people. They don't think too much about money. Kevin from Hull, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you
for joining us. Thanks for coming on the show. 03444991000. I know what we're going to do. We're going to go to Pigeon, Michigan. We're going to talk to Cindy because the doctors are annoying you, aren't they? Because there's a super flu going on and they want to down their tools until the weekend. Hi, Cindy.
Hey, Johnny. It's been too long.
Oh, Cindy.
Nice to see you.
Oh, it's so nice to see you, and thank you very much for being our transatlantic friend.
You're welcome. You know, I think the doctors they're playing really greedy right now.
Yeah.
And this is the wrong time to strike.
You're right.
But
they know it as well, don't they, Cindy? They know it.
They know it. They know it. They've got the upper hand. And I thought they were supposed to do no harm here.
Yeah.
What's going on? But, you know, I think that, you know, they should have some kind of, maybe the government can pay some of their tuition, make a deal where some of their, not all, some or most of their tuition is paid in exchange for them being bound to the NHS for at least 10 years, where they have to work for the NHS for 10 years.
Yes.
No striking.
You know what? I think that's very, very sensible.
Right
There's so much basic negotiation which is missed in the public sector because the public sector doesn't have a profit motive. It's like a money pit. And so therefore there's no one there to think about the profit and loss. You know, they just talk about the sort of slightly waving amount of money, plus or minus. They never think about the urgency of the money. They just come and tax us for more.
Right.
That's not cool.
The government keeps throwing money at the NHS more and more, and they need to get rid of what is it called? Their managers. These
Man, no one's looked at this.
DEI managers.
Absolutely, it's a £120 billion a year business. I mean, I wonder if they cut it to 90 billion, would they notice? If they cut it away from actual front line, you know, they kept the front line stuff. They kept all the surgeons, they kept all the nurses, but they removed a bit of the admin and they renegotiated all the supplies. You know, there's a lot of money to be wasted, you know.
And you know, what really pisses me off is there's a lot of people that have not gotten raises here in your country. And what about the people who clean the hospitals?
Yeah.
What about the people who do
porters.
the laundry in the hospitals?
That's right.
The porters, the nurses, the nurses' assistants.
Yeah.
For God's sake, what about all those people?
Absolutely.
It's all about the doctors.
Yeah.
All about the doctors.
I'll tell you what else they could do.
Greedy.
I'll tell you what else. They could relax the sell-by dates on tools of the trade, like catheters and syringes, because there are packages of these things worth millions of pounds which never get used and get thrown away. They're stored in a warehouse. And then because the sell-by date has passed it, they can't use it. But it's perfectly able to be used. It's hygienic. And I'll tell you why I know this. Because today I went to Notting Hill and I walked into a warehouse directly under the Westway, which is a major road which runs through West London over, like, on stilts over the top of suburban London. And it was a warehouse, and there were 61 pallets of syringes and catheters and stethoscopes and, you know, curtains, stuff that you might not even need to throw away, like for example, barriers in between patients to keep privacy. And this stuff would get thrown away. But do you know what happened? Dr. Colin Hart, who works at the Royal Free Hospital in Hampstead in London, basically said, I can save this stuff from the bin, from the bonfire, and he's arranged with the Jamaican High Commissioner to pack it off to Jamaica to rescue them from the worst ravages of that hurricane, the worst one that ever hit their country. So this stuff, which is perfectly able to be used in this country, is now going to Jamaica. I mean, he's made use of it, and that's wonderful, and congratulations to him, and also to Team Lisa for doing it. Captain Lisa, who's a Jamaican British airline pilot, they're going to fly it out there, and they're going to save lives there. But they need to relax the sell-by date on this stuff so that it can be used. Oh, Cindy, I'm not here to make you unhappy.
No, no, I'm irritated. I am irritated.
Yeah.
Because this is wrong. And I don't want people to die.
No, who does?
You know, this is serious. I just
go on to tell them about what ours is like.
Yeah.
You having a conflab with the other half?
He's here. He's got a bunch of opinions, too.
I bet he does. Why is it only you that phones?
Oh, he's here.
Okay.
He's here. Say hello. This is Mr. Smith here. It's Jacob.
Hi, Mr. Cindy.
Hi.
Hi. It's nice. I've only ever heard from Cindy before. It's nice to know.
Yeah, I call in once in a great while when I have like a really strong.
When you're really, really wound up. Otherwise, Cindy does the talking.
Yeah, but and it's usually about military matters, or if I see something that has to do with like terrorism and stuff like that really gets on my nerves. Yeah. Gets me going and stuff like that. Yeah. But as far as the doctors are concerned, the reason why American doctors can't and won't strike is because they make a ton of money from us.
That's right.
They get insurance money, and then whatever isn't taken care of by the insurance money has to come out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you guys, that's why we don't have like a union for doctors or nurses, because they get paid a lot.
They get paid a lot. But, yes, it's a private sector thing.
But where the Great Britain is concerned, or United Kingdom, I noticed that they have a labor union for doctors.
Sure, they do.
Why is that?
Well, it's a bit extreme as well. They've become a bit more extreme over the last few years, the BMA, the British Medical Association.
Right. It shouldn't even be... If I remember right, doctors all over the world have a slogan where it says, do no harm.
Yes.
They are doing harm
They're doing
to
harm.
people.
Striking is harm.
Which means they should lose their jobs. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
plain and simple. Lose their job.
Not enough discipline. Thank you for that.
But the junior doctors, and they're junior doctors. They're not, full-fledged doctors yet.
Oh, no.
Why are they?
No. I must inform you on this one. Junior doctors does not mean that they are literally juniors, that they're kids, that they're under 30. it's a way of sort of ranking them, and they've been changed, the name's been changed to not misappropriate their experience, because there are some junior doctors who are in their 50s, for example. They're now called resident doctors since the last strike.
We have resident doctors too.
Yeah, okay, so that's the new name. That's the kind of name now.
Okay. So okay, well, that changes things in my opinion a little bit, because I didn't know that. Yeah. But still, I mean, if you think about it, you know, even if you were to get, I don't know what they're making now, what, 60,000 pounds?
Maybe
somewhere around there?
Maybe a bit more.
Maybe a bit more. I mean, that's almost, almost 100,000 in U.S. dollars. That's more than most resident doctors get paid. That's even more than any junior doctor. Well,
right.
Our junior, you know, people coming out of, you know, university and everything else.
Okay.
They won't get paid as much. But I understand you have a mixture inside the junior doctors. So
of course, and there are some people that are paid much more than that.
Yeah. What I'm trying to get across is that there should be no striking at all. I mean, they if they do strike, they still do their work, but they have to at least do some work inside the hospital, because they have that slogan. You can't go wrong with that slogan. That is life and death, and if people are paying with their lives instead of out of their pocket, how are you going to get that money anyway? It doesn't make any sense. No. So I don't see the point of them actually striking.
Okay. The other thing is it's an international jobs market, and obviously what the British government want to do is to stop people voting with their feet and realizing that they can lead a better life in Florida or in Dubai or in Australia and Canada, where the working conditions and the climate are a bit better.
Well, you know what they could do to actually help out with that is what we do here in America is say, all right, you don't have to pay your student loans, or we'll take some of your student loan debt, or we'll take all your student loan debt, and you can go work at this place, or we'll take half of your student loan debt, and that most people will just take the half and work off the rest, because in 10 years' time they could totally pay it off and make bank. But, you know, she wants to talk to you.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up after this, Cindy. One final word from you. So the wife has the last word, Cindy.
Yes, because I don't know when I'm going to see you again, and I'm going to get a spanking for saying this, but don't tell Ash, okay? You promise?
What is it?
You're the better looking of the two.
Oh,
don't
Cindy.
Tell Ash. She'll kill me.
Cindy, I like that. I like you. I like the cut of your jib. I do. Well, it's also true, of course.
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh, yeah. I'm a real hit with the women, you know, Cindy. It's true. I mean, I can't help it.
Yes, I can tell with that shirt you're wearing, too.
Yeah. Peacocking my way to the top of the tree. Cindy, thank you. Sorry, what's your husband's name, Cindy?
Jacob.
Jacob and Cindy, thank you very much for that double phone call here from Pigeon, Michigan. Have a nice day. That's what they all say in the United States. Thank you very much, Jacob and Cindy from Pigeon, Michigan. I always welcome their calls and their input, because to hear what's going on in the USA is always different and interesting in comparative terms. You know what? We've slightly overrun, so it's time for a break. And then we're going to welcome Lenny from Ashford, so stay tuned to talk.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is indeed a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you. I hope you're having a nice lead up to the Christmas holidays. Have you done all your shopping? Have you? Have you noticed the sales going on? You know, maybe they've ordered too much stuff and that maybe the sales will start before New Year. You know, you go into supermarkets now and you know they have yellow stickers at the end of the day. Well, they're starting to put them on at the beginning of the day because I think they've maybe stocked up a bit too much. And of course, there's huge food inflation. Like, things are really noticeably more expensive than they were a year ago. And we had a real jump, didn't we, when the Ukraine war got underway. And now I'm noticing that inflation has really crept in again and things are costing considerably more than they used to. 0344 499 1000. The employment bill is exercising people. It's upsetting a lot of people because it's going to get royal assent tomorrow. And it's Labour's flagship workers' rights bill. It will ban 0-hour contracts and introduce day one rights, including paternity leave from the first day of the job. The bill will apply throughout the UK, but not in Northern Ireland. He says it's a victory for working people, as our Prime Minister. But what does it mean for employers? My personal opinion is that we need to keep the jobs market as mobile and as fluid as possible for small businesses to keep competing and surviving against the big guys, okay? Because perhaps this law should be for companies with 6 or more employees. But for small businesses, how is a cafe, you know, on the high street going to compete with the, you know, the Tesco cafe, the Asda cafe? It's going to be so difficult. 0344 499 1000 as we say good morning to Lenny from Ashford. Hello, Lenny.
Good morning, Johnny.
Hello, Lenny. Nice to speak to you again. How are you?
I'm tickety-boo, thank you, mate.
Tickety-boo. Lovely.
Yeah.
Good. It's lovely to speak to you.
Well,
yeah.
I've got 40 years' experiences of dealing with small businesses.
Right.
And these laws that they're bringing in, it's basically going to be the same as in the 60s when the unions devastated British industry.
Yes.
And this is going to have the same result.
We're just going to get higher unemployment, aren't we? We're just going to have higher unemployment, and it will affect the poorer end of the jobs market, the blue collar, isn't it?
Well, it's going to affect everybody.
Everyone, okay.
And no one is going to have, and everybody are going to think before they invest money in a business if they got to abide by these rules.
Yes.
Absolutely stupid. Now, let me explain to you. In the 60s, very same, we had a rule by the union of one person, one job. That meant one person was only allowed to do one job and wasn't allowed to do any other work. You had to employ someone just to do one job. And what happened, a couple of stories I can tell you. One day, there was a man digging a hole. He dug the hole, then another man filled it in.
Right.
So I went over to him and I said, "Excuse me, can you tell me what you're doing?" He said, "Yes." He said, "My name's Fred. I dig the hole. Elf fills it in."
Right.
And Harry, who puts the tree in, hasn't turned in today.
Oh, wow.
And that was what employing in the unions in them days was like. It was absolutely stupid and it devastated British industry.
That's pathetic, isn't it? Do you know what's funny? You know, in terms of creatives, I always remember in the 70s, the musicians' union were very powerful and they wanted to keep music live. So instead of having the original pop record, they used to have like sort of orchestras play pop music instead. And it just sounded ridiculous. It was all about the unions protecting jobs, whereas we forgot about the entertainment bit. These days, though, you know, Lenny, in a mobile jobs market, which is like the digital jobs market, which doesn't have any union rights, you couldn't have one man, one job anymore, because people have what they might call a portfolio career. They kind of do all sorts of different things. I do more than one job. And the reason I do more than one job, Lenny, is not just because I want to earn a living, but also because I have generated a lot of life and work experience that I can compete in several jobs markets and work across them at the same time. I couldn't be able to do one job. They couldn't afford me.
Well, can I just explain straightforward pound notes?
Yeah.
And that is, when a small businessman starts up, he's normally short of money. No one has got enough money to do the job that they to run their business.
Yeah.
So they go to the bank and they have to put their house in as collateral for a loan.
Right.
To run the business. Now, this is straightforward. Happens every day.
Yeah.
Now, you tell me, is a small businessman going to put his house in for collateral, and he's going to have to totally depend on the people that he employs on doing the job correctly, and he's got no control over them whatsoever?
No, that's a very, very good point. There's two pressures here, Lenny. Of course, his wage costs and his general costs of sales on his business will rise at the same time as the value of his property might decline in this marketplace.
Well, then you have negative equity, and then once a bank knows you're in negative equity, foreclosure.
Yeah. The other thing is, even if they've owned the house for a while, they might not lend to you at the same ratio because the value of the house is declining. That's the problem. The property market's going some.
I mean, that's not happening at the moment, but it is.
Property prices are going down.
Well, you know, I haven't heard that they're going down, but what it is, it's straightforward pound, shillings, and common sense.
Yes.
And what it is, if you say to, it's all right for someone like Rayner to say, I'm going to give all these rights, but if you just ask her to put her house up for collateral, and employ somebody, and her house, and it all depends on the person she's employing being successful. And if they're not, then she's going to lose the house. She would have a total different outlook on life.
I totally. My dad was in this situation. You know, he did put up his house for our family business, and it got to a point where it got too expensive, and he got ill out of it. He was worried about losing his house. Luckily, he was a clever enough and good businessman that it didn't happen, but he spent his time paying it down and getting rid of the debt because it became just too big. Didn't like it, didn't like the risk, didn't want a sleepless night. And that is the lament of the entrepreneur.
Yeah, but when you look at it, every person you employ is a debt.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you measure it against the benefit of the turnover that it'll deliver.
That is right, and what it is that I've got a grandson who's got his head screwed on, and he's going to start a business in next year, and I've said to him, whatever you do, do not employ anyone.
No, it's right. Lenny, thank you for that. This is all very, very good, very wise comments, you know, anecdotal experience. We need to hear it from you. 03444991000. Short break. Vicky from Manchester after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, you are engaged on the show tonight, and thank you very much for all your calls and texts. We're going to get straight to the lines. Vicky from Manchester's with us. Hi, Vicky.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to speak to you.
Oh, it's nice to have you. you. Nice. That was an attempt at a catchphrase. I need to work on it.
You're doing a bit of Brewster.
Good game. Vicky, tell us about the doctor's strike.
Yes, so the doctor's strike, I'm very in favour of. I feel that we saw, you have to forgive me, my perimenopausal brain, I can't think of the word. I'm currently doing, I must say, I'm currently doing a master's degree in social work.
Right.
So I've worked in health and social care for 25 years.
Right.
I'm at the ripe old age of 46.
Oh, that's not old.
But, well...
It's the oldest you've ever been. That's why you think it's old.
Yeah, but I just feel like we should stop. I feel like we're putting each other against ourselves when we're not looking at the higher. Do you know what I mean?
I do. We're being pitted against each other.
Yes, and I just don't think it's right. I think it's right that somebody what is a life worth? How much money does that cost?
I know. And I do think it's an immoral act. You know, do no harm is what the doctors say. I don't know if it's part of the Hippocratic Oath, but the idea is that why are the doctors allowed to strike when actually it would cost lives? People will die because they're not being attended to. In the same way that if an army striked, we'd get invaded. If the police went on strike, there might be riots or increased crime. So why are the doctors allowed to?
They do, don't they? Don't they?
Who?
Or are they not allowed to?
No, the cops don't strike. You can't. You can't.
So why are so many other, for instance, I don't know, say like a HR manager or you know, people that are on hundreds of thousands of pounds per year, that they can be allowed to strike, but just because you're in a profession, why do you put like our ethical and moral concern? We obviously have them,
yes,
but I don't feel that they should be prevalent.
Yeah, I know. You have to have a happy balance, don't you, Vicky? There have to be a certain amount of workers' rights. Otherwise it's a free-for-all. Otherwise managers just sack you, and that would be the end of that. I mean, I told the story about an hour ago about how I worked in the UAE, and they basically decided to pull the plug on the organisation that I worked for at 10 o'clock one Sunday morning. They literally turned the computers off, and they took down the website, and they said, that's your lot, no pay, up to that point. And, that's at the most extreme end of without employment law. But do you think perhaps it's overstretching the mark now in this country with doctors? They've got too many rights.
I just feel like they play on our empathetic nature. I really do. And I think that's the be all and end all, because we ultimately feel like, I don't know about, I can't speak for everyone, but for myself, I've come from £12 an hour minimum wage. Well, I remember when I was on £3.52 when I first started out, wiping bottoms, wiping someone's backside of a dying man, let me tell you.
Oh, really?
And I held his hand.
Oh, really?
And
How
it was
sad.
when he took his last breath.
What a beautiful thing. I mean, that's beautiful and sad in a way, but I mean, that's a memory and a good thing that you contributed to society. It's a good thing, Vicky.
But I think that we shouldn't be held on just because we want a pay increase.
No. Are you a nurse, Vicky?
We don't. No, I'm in social work.
You're a social carer, a social work carer. Like in an old people's home, perhaps.
No, I'm a social work student. I've worked in health and social care as older adults all my life.
Right.
No, I want to be a social worker. I'm doing a master's degree in social work. So I'm evidently trying to, gain that piece of paper basically to say that I can do this. It's a registration number which will get me registered. But I've been doing this for 25 years.
Wow.
It doesn't matter whether I've got a number or whatever, but I just think there's no amount of money that will get you to do this job, but I think it should be reflected in the things that you do.
Yes, it's got to, they sit on our vocation, our desire to do the job well, without remunerating us for that in some cases. Vicky, thank you very much for your contributions. Died 0344 499 1000. We're going to stay on the line to speak to Grace in London. Hello, Grace.
Hi. I had called in about the marches, but
yes.
I have thoughts about the doctor strike, so should I talk about that?
Oh, no, go on.
On
Get on the protests, because I've wanted to talk to people about that, because the cops have actually taken action immediately. The promises that they made that globalising the Intifada would not be tolerated has already begun. Okay. Yes.
On the one hand, there's part of me that's feeling just generally frustrated with people going on endlessly about Gaza, because they're not all, I don't think, anti-Semitic, and yet I'm thinking to myself, there are really severe humanitarian situations in some other places as well.
Yeah.
So why don't they talk about those situations too? I'm so concerned about people who are starving and facing conflict in Gaza, but also other places. So the fact that all the time and energy gets spent on Gaza specifically makes me think, well, the people with more melanin who are in Sudan who are suffering not matter to you guys?
Yeah, I noticed on the way into work that there are now adverts for Sudan, and they're calling it the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. Just a point of information, the Gaza war is over. It's been over for a while, and the terms globalising the Intifada is not about the Gaza war. It is about an Islamic extremism problem designed to kill Jews.
Yeah.
So these pro-Palestinian protests, rather than being pro-anything, they are anti-Israel and anti-Semitic. And that is why, after the Bondi mass murder by those two father and son terrorists, they now realise that the term globalising the Intifada and from the river to the sea is a a call to action to go and kill the Saturday people, and then they'll go after the Sunday people. That's what's happening, and that's why it's got to stop. It's not about Gaza. These things are not about Gaza, Grace. They're not.
I guess I find it difficult to get my head around the concept of anti-Semitism, because it's so irrational and just not that other kinds of racism are rational. Obviously, they are.
But I know what you mean.
Also, but I've been learning in the last few years about anti-Semitism because I've been so ignorant about it, and seeing I'm not kind of
because you don't believe in it. You can't understand it. I mean, I don't understand it either.
It's really hard to make sense of, but I'm witnessing it on social media more and more
all the time.
And I guess I do believe ultimately that there is such a thing as human sin and evil, and we're about to celebrate a Jewish baby, and we think about how he came and people need to stop saying, oh, he was Palestinian. He was Jewish.
He wasn't Palestinian. The idea of Palestinianism was invented in 1964.
Well, I've seen a lot of people saying he was Palestinian because
but that's an absolute fabrication. He was an indigenous Jew from Bethlehem.
Indeed.
So, and he knocked about in Nazareth. Maybe you can tell me the difference between Bethlehem and Nazareth. Did he live as Nazareth later on in life?
Well, they're different locations.
I know. And Nazareth is in Israel, and Bethlehem is now in Judea and Samaria.
They travelled to Bethlehem because the Romans had ordered that there be a census, and so they had to go to Joseph's hometown to be registered in the census. But they lived. Then they returned to Nazareth, where he grew up. But I just kind of think in my mind, we hear about how he came to be a saviour, and anti-Semitism is one of the evils that exist in our world. There are other sins and evils in our own hearts that we need to think about, but this is a particular sin and evil that exists, and it's just horrifying seeing it
so prevalent in our society. Grace, you've just said something absolutely fascinating about why the family left Bethlehem to go to Nazareth. In other words, Jesus, the Jew, was exposed to Roman anti-Semitism 2,000 years ago.
He went, no,
basically.
His parents lived in Nazareth, but they travelled to Bethlehem at the time of his birth. And then returned to Nazareth, but they had to go via Egypt because King Herod wanted to kill baby Jesus, because King Herod didn't want anyone else being king. But you're right, yes, there was anti-Semitism arguably by the Romans, and the Jewish people were subject to the oppression of the Romans, and the Jewish people have been subject to oppression throughout human history, and it's quite peculiar to witness. I mean, my mum says that she thinks is a kind of a satanic spiritual battle against the Jewish people, because it's so bizarre, and I find it hard to get my head around that, because I don't naturally kind of think about spiritual things like that. I believe in God because I came to see that there's evidence of God, but getting my head around the idea of a spiritual battle like that is really hard for me. But it does seem, as she says, unusual how much the Jewish people specifically have been persecuted more than other people groups.
It is strange. And looking at new immigrant groups who behave in a similar way to Jewish people in terms of their desire to make a contribution to wider society. I look at the Sikhs and their response to crises, and they come with food and they come with hospitality, which is a Jewish reaction as well, and they're applauded. And it's funny, isn't it? Your mum might be hitting on something here, that there is a different way of treating Jewish people to Sikh people, which I can't get my head around either. I wish it wouldn't happen to either of them, but there seems to be a different way of treating different people.
Yeah, I can't really make sense of it. I don't know if it is some kind of dark spiritual thing that I can't really fathom. But I think one of the things it also is that because Jewish people have quite often been very successful in various fields, some people think that they are themselves noble if they oppose these successful people. It's kind of like, if because that they presume that Jewish people are all wealthy or what have you, that they think, well, it's the socially conscious thing for me to do to oppose that. And
it's a terrible thing. I hate to admit it, but there's lots and lots of poor Jewish people as well, because it's the situation. They're like everybody else. There are poor Jewish people, there are rich Jewish people, and there are people struggling to pay their mortgage, Jewish people as well, Grace. So unfortunately, that is again another inquiry line which we're going to have to hit a cul-de-sac on. Grace, thank you very much for your contribution to that. 0344 499 1000. Quick break, and then we'll go to Basingstoke and talk to Kevin.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, I've had a lovely time presenting the show tonight, and I'm back all over Christmas. I start again on the 23rd of December. I hope you'll join me for a whole series of different shows. I'm doing afternoons, I'm doing evenings, I'm doing breakfast shows as well. I'm thrilled and excited to be on with you, and I look forward to your company throughout the holiday period. 0344 499 1000. Just time to have a chat with Kevin. Hello, Kevin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The reason the military, the police, and the prison service can't strike is because it's a national security risk if they do.
Yes.
And doctors, when Labour was in power, the satisfaction with the NHS was at an all-time high.
Right.
And waiting lists was at an all-time low. Mm-hmm. When doctors do go on strike, they do have... you can still go to A&E. They're not going to... no one's going to be at risk and not being treated. And also, over 14 years of Conservative austerity, their pay dropped by 25%. So for 14 years, they were working for less money. So the pay rise that they had was over 3 years and only takes them back up to what it was 14 years ago.
Right, OK. So you're in favour of the doctors' strike, even though in September of last year, they managed to secure themselves a 22% pay rise.
Yeah, 22%. So that's not even what they were at 14 years ago.
I know, but why didn't they solve it at the time? I mean, it's kind of slightly bad faith to come out and strike again after such a whopping pay rise, even if, as you say, it still put them on the back foot? It's like bad faith, isn't it?
They did negotiate with the Conservatives, but they didn't get enough.
No.
To compensate for inflation.
Do you think they see Labour as weak then?
They didn't go on strike then, and they didn't get what they wanted.
Right. Do you think the Labour government perceived to be weak amongst the BMA and the doctors?
No, they're not weak. They're doing the right thing.
Are
Why
they?
should they work for less money? Everybody should be.
No. Do you think Labour? Do you think they perceive the government to be weak? They're going back.
No, I think they perceive them as being fair and giving them what they deserve.
But they're going to play hardball here, aren't they, Kevin?
Pardon?
They're going to play hardball here, aren't they, Kevin? They're not going to concede to all the demands. There'll have to be another settlement, a compromise.
Well, yeah, there will be. That's what unions do. They try to do the best for their members, don't they? I mean, countries that have higher uptake of people in unions is a much better society. There's less inequality, better workers' rights, better pay. I mean, America, they've got really low union uptake, and they've got terrible workers' rights. In America, women are not entitled to any maternity leave at all.
Yes.
No sick pay. They don't even get any holiday pay.
Yes. There's a quid pro quo to this, though, Kevin, which is that the jobs market becomes much more flexible and mobile, so people can find their way up